What's going on, guys? Yash Talalekar and Akhilesh Srivatsa back here again on another episode of the Winning Browns podcast, where clearly, with the way the direction of the Browns are going, we definitely at this point have achieved our goal of winning not only more Super Bowls and games than the Cleveland Browns did. Now we are going to bigger and better things, such as winning more games than Tom Brady ever will in his career, which
Okay,
is a very ambitious goal. But hey, that's what we try to do on the Winning Browns podcast. We try
for
to
sure.
make this as good of a quality show for you guys. And as we continue into this week, not much has changed since what was a very
Right.
traumatizing last week for myself with the Myles Garrett trade. However, it has been a very eventful week in sports in general. Obviously, the NBA finals are going on, the Stanley Cup finals. It's been, man, what a great Stanley Cup finals. I've got to watch the privilege of two of the three games. Um, Game three being one of the greatest games I've ever seen. There are 33 goals, Akhilesh, in the first four games of this Stanley Cup finals.
Wow.
That is by far the most ever in to start a Stanley Cup. Um, and then we got the NBA Finals looking like it's starting to get a little bit more interesting now that the
Yeah,
Spurs
for
are
sure.
back one game. Nobody expected the Knicks to steal both games away from the Spurs on the road, but they did.
Yeah.
Um, and now we're looking at a team like the Rams. The thing that has interested in me recently, Akhilesh, that I want to kind of get
Mhm.
into as we start this episode, just looking at the whole landscape around sports, and I want to relate it back to the NFL with this recent Myles Garrett trade. There's always a team over the last few years in the championship that is just known for trading after superstar after superstar after superstar after superstar.
Right.
The Dodgers in baseball. You see in the NBA, the Knicks, their entire depth chart, they have basically traded for star after star. OG Anunoby getting a lot of picks for him. Mikal Bridges trading, I think it was what, four or five first round picks for him, and then trading whatever rest of the first
Yeah.
round picks that they had in their arsenal for Karl Anthony Towns
hmm
to go and do this. This is in a big market nonetheless. And then we see a team like Vegas in hockey get all-star after all-star after all-star. You look at their roster, they have the likes of Jack Eichel, who Noah Hannafin, Shea Theodore, Mark Stone. These are guys that they've traded gobs of prospects for in order to acquire. And now we look at a team in the NFL like the Los Angeles Rams with what they've done
Right.
in the past with guys like Jalen Ramsey or Brandon Cooks to then Matthew Stafford to then now in the past couple of years Trent McDuffie and now Myles Garrett.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
the big question, and we asked this question 5 years ago when the Rams traded for Matthew Stafford, but we should ask it again
hmm
because of what we have seen over the last few years as far as other teams trading for first round picks for big quarterbacks or big time players. Do you
Right.
think that the NFL should be going in a direction as far as being aggressive with these first round picks? And if so, why? Or do you think it just applies to certain teams like the Rams, or do you think that there's something else at play?
Well, I mean, look, if I'm looking at it from a perspective of sports in general, right? The term of building or like trading for superstars and all of that, um, it's worked in some sport. It's definitely not worked in others. If we think about the NBA, it's almost always never worked trading for a superstar and then expecting a huge championship. Very rarely has it worked. You think about the Shaq trade from Orlando to LA. That worked, but we also have to take into consideration that the first couple of years were rough. They couldn't get past, the Jazz, etc. Right?
And we might
Uh,
also add the fact that they had to also draft a player in order to help Shaq, in that
yeah,
being nonetheless
exactly.
Kobe
Which,
Bryant.
yeah, rather trade for Kobe Bryant, if you will, but
From the draft,
still,
though, yeah.
yeah. But I mean, at that time, no one knew that Kobe Bryant was going to be the Kobe that we love and adore today.
Right.
Um, but when we look at the NBA as a whole, this whole trading for superstar business has very rarely worked. We think about the Brooklyn Nets with Kyrie, James Harden, Kevin Durant. I think that's probably the biggest collapse of a star-studded squad, if you will. I mean, you think about
Hmm.
that squad: LaMarcus Aldridge, Blake Griffin, KD, James Harden. Steve Nash is their head coach.
Patty Mills
Um,
off the bench.
Patty Mills off the bench, who was a huge guy for the Spurs throughout his career. So
Yeah,
it's not any slight when we think about the talent that that team had, but they, I mean, you could argue that they never attained any sort of respect for the caliber that their team was.
for
You
sure.
know what I mean? You think about James Harden, his collapse as an NBA player started in Brooklyn. And ironically, he had one of his best starts ever in his career at Brooklyn. So um, it doesn't work in the NBA. The only time I've seen it work trading for a superstar is that Warriors with KD, Steph, and Draymond. That's really the only time I can say guaranteed it's work trading for a superstar. Now, what has worked in the NBA is building off of a superstar, right? Guys like Clay and Draymond, they're not superstars in of themselves, but they are those assets that allow Steph to be Steph, which allows this team to win. You think about Giannis, right? Drew Holiday is not a superstar. Chris Middleton is not a superstar. But those guys became assets to allow Giannis to be the superstar player he needed to be. So the even if you think about the big three with LeBron, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh, you really have to think about the fact that Chris Bosh as a player was not necessarily a weapon or a threat.
He became
No,
more of a role player with that team.
exactly. But he and Dwayne Wade for that matter, as a fact, I don't think you can necessarily say Dwayne Wade was a monster or people were threatened by Dwayne Wade when he was with LeBron, right? It was LeBron, and that was the
Right.
focus. Because Dwayne Wade in 2006 was not the same Dwayne Wade in 2013. He had to
Right.
play a different role. Now, the problem with this idea of building a superstar tandem team is the sense of ego has to be bare minimum. And I've not seen that much with successful teams. So now,
If I might add, Akhilesh, to your point about the role players, I think we can make that same argument with the Knicks to a degree, right? Like, you
right.
were squinting earlier when I mentioned OG Anunoby as a superstar,
Yeah,
but the reason,
yeah.
I mean, that's valid for sure, is for the reason Anunoby is not exactly a superstar, but he plays well in
hmm
his role, and for what the Knicks gave
But
for
see,
him.
Yash, my point is they didn't trade for a superstar. They
Correct,
traded
but
for an asset. That's
right,
all.
that's what I'm saying. But I mean, for the amount of picks that they gave for him, that was my point.
That's fair.
But
That's fair.
that the fact that he settles into a role that I mean, even when you get a lot of superstar players, if you may, like what the Heat did, you still got to have certain players settle into roles in order for that
Right.
system in order to be able to work. And I think that
That's
applies
fair.
in several other leagues, but definitely with the NFL, I would say it's a little different because obviously
Much
NFL
different. Actually, you know what
requires
the
positional
main
value.
difference, Yash, to me is this. The NBA picks nowadays mean nothing. Mean absolutely nothing in the NBA right now.
For the most part.
For the most part, for
Yeah.
the most part. I mean, aside from the top three picks, for in the past 10 years, I can or past 5 years at least, the top three picks. The only time when the top three picks mattered, it was Wemby, and that's about it. Anthony Edwards. That's like very few picks matter in the NBA. No one waits around like they do for the NFL draft, for an NBA draft. It is what it is. The NBA draft right now is extremely boring because everybody knows after the top three picks, no one cares. That's really what it's at right now.
But at the
Now,
same time,
the
go
additional
ahead.
thing I'll add to that is this. This year is different because you have a star-studded class that has a lot of talent and all that is there. I get that. But my point now is trades for these players. So you said superstar caliber because of the number of picks that were needed to be traded. My point is that
No,
is
no, no, no.
almost
I overspoke on that, but my
no,
point was,
no,
yeah.
but Yash, actually, I'm not like trying to blame you or
No, no, no. I
anything. My
get,
point
yeah.
is, it's a fair point.
Right,
People
right.
can honest people have brought this up on many occasions. For example, Stephen A. Smith, he was saying that OKC is it's at a huge advantage because they have so many first round picks. My point is, the NBA's position now where your first round picks are going to take 5 years to become actual, if not real threats. And most of the time, they become essential role players for your superstars. That's the way NBA is built on in terms of first round, second round picks.
Right.
It's no longer that those guys become the superstars until they're like, it's not like I'm going to get a 23-year-old and he's going to be a superstar. That's not how it works now. You
Right.
get a 19-year-old and you wait till they're 25 or 26 before you can call them a superstar. They maybe get two All-Stars in a row and then they become your role player again.
Right.
That's the way NBA teams are positioning draft prospects right now. I don't think that's right. Personally, I don't think that's right. I think you gotta throw them in the hole at times and allow them to experience it instead of just safeguarding them, keeping them guarded, and then moving them up. But I've talked about the NBA for a while. Now, there's a huge difference between the NBA and the NFL in the fact the draft picks in the NFL matter a whole lot more. In the sense of this, first of all, you got a lot more positions to fill. That's the first part I'll get out of the way. Secondly, depth in the NFL matters a lot more than it does in the NBA, just based on the sheer amount of players that you have at a particular moment in time. I also think that the NFL is a more complicated game than the NBA. NBA is a lot more, I think, athletically, you have to be a lot more intuitive. You should be a little bit more athletically mobile, if you will, when it comes to the NBA. When it comes to the NFL, it's a lot more methods, designs, everything's set. In the NBA, that's not the case. You have plays, but if it doesn't go, naturally move out. With the NFL, you really don't have that option. Everything is set in a certain manner. So for that reason, draft picks a lot have a heavy, heavy, heavy part in this. Now, I've gone on a rant, but I'm coming to this point now. Trading for superstars in the NFL works. It works because if I'm trading three first round picks for a guy like Myles Garrett, right, and I have second round picks, the truth is, second round picks at times can be just as valuable, if not more valuable, than first round picks. That's what it is.
Right.
In the NBA, that's not the case. In other leagues, I can't say because I don't have enough knowledge to talk about the NHL or whatever. Right? I don't have that experience. I don't know the knowledge. But I can certainly say in the NBA, you don't have that. For example, like having four fifth round picks versus having two third round picks and a fourth might actually be more valuable for an NFL team, which is insane to think about. But that's what it is.
Hmm.
Like if you look at the Chargers this past draft, we had three I think we had, or rather the previous year, we had four fifth round draft picks and two sixth round draft picks, and we had one third round draft pick. And out of the five picks that we had in the fifth and sixth round, three of those players started for us for nearly half the year. And they made incredible efforts in terms of our defense as well as our offense. So, point being, that this idea of trading for superstars and giving up picks in that process works because essentially what you're doing is you're accumulating talent, and in the NFL you're allowing them to watch superstars do what they do on a daily basis. You allow them to pick their brains, and then once it comes time for these guys to retire or slightly degress, you add these in and you have a lot more rotation now so that when your prime players get older, you allow them to still be on the field and still dominate while allowing them to also rest at the same time. I think if you go that way in the NFL, it works. Now, people are scared of doing that. Why? In the NFL, money means a lot more. That's what it is. The money means a lot more in the NFL. Or maybe not a lot more, but people care a lot more about the money. I guess I'll say it like that. I don't know necessarily its values a lot more, but I think people care a lot more about their money. For example, you look at Jerry Jones. I mean, the guy will not give up a cent more than what he thinks is right, right? Whereas NBA owners right now, just based off the sheer amount of money that players are getting, they're willing to go that extra amount of money. In the NFL, that's not the case. I'll let the businessman talk about that, but what I personally feel is trading for superstars and giving up picks in the process is going to be the most valuable way to approach it. Because by that time, you're getting in players, young talents, allowing them to grow, and then attacking. So I'll stop there. But
I think it's twofold. I think you nailed most of the ideas on the dot. I think you just kind of for like missed a few aspects of each position that you went to. I think the big things that should be mentioned. And I'm going to bring in other sports other than the NBA too to kind of give this as an example. Um, but the first thing we should mention is that a lot of the teams that are trading and making these big moves for superstars across all four major sports, they are in these big, big, big markets, right? They're in the LAs of the
That's
world,
true.
the New Yorks of the world. You don't see a team like the Columbus Blue Jackets or the Pittsburgh Pirates going and trading for a superstar. They have to go and develop one, right? You don't see a team like the Indiana Pacers going and getting superstars like this, or the Green Bay Packers. They draft their players usually. They draft and develop. Now, I think one thing that's interesting about the NFL that should be mentioned is that compared to other sports, the NFL is very, very, very much more position dependent than any other sport in the league.
Yeah,
And that's
for sure.
important because in the case of the NBA, right, you got a team that is very much superstar dependent, right? So what Akhilesh was alluding to earlier when it comes to developing superstars or getting a player like early in the draft or later in the draft, whatever it is, at the end of the day, if you don't get the likes of, I mean, we saw it in the Eastern Conference in the NBA for years. If you didn't have LeBron James, you were pretty
Yeah,
much screwed, right?
yeah,
You don't have one of the best players, you're going to lose at the end of the day, right? Whether that comes in the form of Shea Alexander at what I think it was pick 11 that he was drafted, or if that comes at Jalen
yeah. I
Brunson,
think
who was
so.
in the second round, or that
Second
comes
round,
with Wemby, who's at
Jokic.
number one, right? Jokic. Then that really doesn't matter. Once you get that player, whether you trade, sign him, whatnot, that's your guy. In the case of
Yeah.
the MLB, you can do that. But unless your name is Shohei Ohtani, right? You can be
Hmm.
the best, a guy who's so versatile and valuable because he can play both offense and defense, or sorry, pitching and hitting. You're
Hmm.
probably not going to really matter that much in the case of baseball. I think the other issue when it comes
I
to
see.
baseball is the fact that, there's this whole baseball is the only one of the four major sports that doesn't have a salary cap, right? So all the
Mm,
best players, anyways, end up going to the likes of the New York Yankees, the New York Mets, the Los Angeles
yeah.
Dodgers of the world. Um, I mean, I don't think like we've seen the Dodgers get players like Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman, but
Yeah.
they've won before them. I mean, they won five divisional titles before they traded for Mookie Betts. They won 100 plus games 3 of those 5 years, right? So
Hmm.
it's not like Mookie Betts affects their ability to win more or less, right? Really, what it comes down to is in the case of baseball, you got you could have two or three of the best players, but that's not going to really help your team because every single player has to bat. So every single player has to participate the equal amount in order for a baseball team to actually produce. And then in hockey, it's a very tactical game, much like the NFL, right? You got to
Hmm.
have, same thing with soccer, it's very tactical where you got to
Yeah.
have all these chess pieces moving. But the difference with the NFL is the positional value is there. So there is a added value, much like the NBA, on premium positions, right? And we see the Rams, a team like the Rams, they trade for those premium positions always. They
Right.
traded a few years ago for a quarterback in Matthew Stafford. They had a good quarterback already in Jared Goff, but they went and upgraded at that position. Their looks at it was okay, we have, if we're using an NBA analogy, all right, fine, we have, I don't know, we have Ja Morant, but we want to
Hmm.
go from Ja Morant to Shea Gilgis Alexander, right? We want to go from a second level superstar
Well, I mean, I don't know
to
if that's the best example considering what John Morant is now, but
I'm saying okay, yeah,
yeah.
like Lamelo Ball. Let's go Lamelo Ball. How he's played this year, right?
Okay. Okay, that's
Yeah,
actually a decent comparison. Yeah.
right. So that's kind of what they've done. And I mean, we look at someone like Jared Verse. Jared Verse is without a doubt a very, very talented player. Is he ever going to be Miles Garrett? Probably not, right? And we're getting a Miles Garrett in the Rams who is right now in the prime of his career, who just came off breaking the sack record. So why wouldn't the Rams go after Miles Garrett? So I think it has to always do with positional value. Whereas most other teams, you can't you've seen a lot of other teams try the same thing, especially at the quarterback position. A few years ago, the Broncos traded, what was it, two or three first round picks for Russell Wilson. The Browns
Yeah.
did for Deshaun Watson. A lot of teams are doing that for the wide receiver position. Wide receiver is a
Right.
little bit more different. But we look at the teams who are still successful. The big thing with them is just drafting a quarterback that they can develop into a superstar or drafting a team around them. It's one
Yeah.
of the two. And if they can't do that, they go into the
Uh,
Rams. They go
Actually,
in.
it used to be, I would say. Nowadays, it's more of I want to develop pieces around my quarterback and then try to get a refurbished quarterback.
Well, no,
So,
that's what I say. It's one of
not,
the two, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah,
if you're the Chiefs, you surround all your talent around Patrick Mahomes. Whereas if it's like the
right,
Eagles or the Niners, they build a roster first and then get that quarterback, like you said.
yeah,
In the case of the Rams, they've experimented with several of these types of rosters. The Rams in 21 were a quarterback, receiver, defensive back, and everyone else just kind of was depth around them. In 2018, they were just stars, 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 stars everywhere, and we can worry about the depth later on. This team is very much let's build it like the 49ers or the Eagles. And we already have a good quarterback in Matthew Stafford. He just happened to have an MVP season last year, right? And have another career renaissance, if you may, at 38. Okay, now let's just
yeah.
upgrade at the edge position, right? And get a player that is that much better than Jared Verse. I think the big thing is for the Rams, why it works, or a lot of these teams that we're seeing is they have a good coach, especially in football and in football because of how tactical it is. It doesn't necessarily mean the same thing in hockey, right? We've seen the Vegas Golden Knights go from you know Jared Gallant to Peter DeBoer to Bruce Cassidy to now John
Right.
Tortorella. The Dodgers, I mean, managing in itself, they've had Dave Roberts for over a decade now, but manager doesn't have as much role in baseball compared to a coach in football. And even with the Knicks this year, we've seen them go from Tom Thibodeau, who was very successful with this team, to now Mike
Hmm.
Brown and not miss a beat at all in the playoffs. So to me,
I
football, it
mean, yeah.
really matters to have a coach like Sean McVay in order to work. So to me, the big things are positional value, coach, and big market. To me, those are the three things that matter a lot as to why the Rams are successful in this. And I don't think a lot of other teams can be able to pull this off like the Rams.
I actually don't think so. I think what I think is this. The approach to getting superstars is at least the way it should be. I think you said it. I'm just going to reiterate it, but it should be to first build a squad, right? Then add that little dot of the superstar individual. For example, I'll give you a really good example. Think about the Green Bay Packers. They had Brett Favre. They had a good squad. They had talented receivers, Sterling Sharp. They had a decent running back. They had good overall cornerbacks if you think about their defensive backs. The
Sure.
thing they lacked was a presence on the edge. So they surrounded a team, they built a team where it was enough to the extent that if I add this superstar player, it's going to complete it. That's the way teams should be looked at. If I look at the Los Angeles Rams, Matthew Stafford was a superstar that needed to be added, and the team was complete, right? When you look at individuals like that,
I
that's how
actually
that's how it
disagree
should.
with you on Stafford. I
I
don't think
think
that was the
so. Think
case with
about it
the.
that time.
I don't think it was the case with the 21 Rams roster. And
It
I've
was
said this before.
Cooper Cup. Cooper Cup was already there. You had a talented offensive line class. You had a talented defensive lineman class. Again,
Actually,
Von Miller.
no.
Yeah, you did. You
No,
had
no, no, no,
Aaron
no, no.
Donald.
I
You
might
had
I should add, let's not forget. Yes, this Rams team was considered a Super Bowl contender in 21, but we should forget that this was a conversation between us that the Rams lost three of their starting O linemen that previous year when they traded for Matthew Stafford. Cooper
okay.
Kupp was not this world beater that he became in 2021.
But
So
that's not our judgment to make.
sure, but my argument with the Rams at that point was that team became so dependent on such heavy production from their superstars, the likes of Ramsey, Donald, Cup, and then Stafford, that
Okay.
it what really helped them win the Super Bowl was then everyone just basically producing around them. Their offensive line
All
didn't have
right.
to be so great. They just had to be good enough, which is why I
But
think
that's what it
the
is.
right, but that's what I'm
That's
saying.
the advantage that you have with the superstar at the end of the day.
Sure, but that's my point. It's a little different than comparing it to this 26 Rams roster, where this 26 Rams roster I would say is closer to what you just compared with the Green Bay Packers getting Reggie White at the end, right? I don't think that was the case with that Rams roster. I think it was more
I don't know how to feel about that because if we're making that argument, Von Miller was a Reggie White. If you want to keep it like that, he when you added Von Miller into it, that was the exact pieces needed to
but that was
allow.
it
See,
but that wasn't midway through the season though, right? That wasn't
fair, but
yeah.
still, I mean that ultimately got them to the Super Bowl. If we're talking about like 1 year wonder type seasons, Von Miller in that season to add him there at that specific time changed the entire dynamic of the team.
let me just if I'm on the same page as you. So you're
Mhm.
essentially arguing from the standpoint of like roster construction in the like what's the terminology? Strike while you're looking at it from like a strike while the iron's hot kind of way.
Exactly. See,
Okay, yeah, then that makes sense. Then I
look,
get what your point.
if you have a team that, from a talent standpoint, that is believed in by the coaches, by the
Sure.
staffs. See, I'm saying it from a perspective of we can't. I'm not trying to approach it from a fan perspective at all. I'm
Right.
trying to approach it from a guy who's in the office who knows this team better than anybody else in the world.
Okay.
He looks at it and says, "For if we're taking that 21 team, yes, no one knew Cooper Cup was Cooper Cup, fans wise, but sure as anything, that organization did."
Sure.
Sure as anything the organization did. Sure as anything the organization knew that that offensive line was going to do enough. Sure as anything the organization knew that they needed to add a couple of pieces. By the way, when we're looking at Jalen Ramsey, and I mean, you obviously have got me for a couple of times in the idea of Jalen Ramsey being overrated, which I've come to now agreeing with. Um, Definitely that Super Bowl was an indication of how overrated he was. But when we look at overall, the Rams team built a squad that allowed their superstar players to be the best.
Right. Yeah, without
And
a doubt.
what they've done over the years was they created that talent. Now, the reason why I have a problem with the Rams was the following year they completely fell off. Very simply because of this. They lost gas. And
Yeah.
that gas came with not their superstar players. That gas came with the players around their superstars. They lost a lot of players in
Yeah.
that offseason, right? So I think what they've done now that I like is the fact that they've secured their players. Like Trent McDuffie right now, is he a superstar? No, not necessarily. You don't necessarily want to call him a superstar, although he is extremely good at what he does. I'm not sure I would call him superstar. He's definitely a star. But when I look at that squad, they've secured themselves for like, okay, I got these guys for the next 3 years, and I got backup for the next 3 years. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think that the way the Rams are going about it is the way to go. But
I think if that's the case, from what I understand, I think you and I are saying the same thing. We're just saying it a little differently.
a little differently,
Yeah.
exactly. I
But
think I
I all I'm
agree in
s-
the standpoint that it's definitely not the most viable to be doing, right?
all I'm yeah,
Because
but
you have
here's
to
all
be
I'm
in that
saying.
market, you have to have that much money, you have to have
Right.
that much talent in your bank account to put forward if in case you lose. I get that.
But you also got to have a coach like Sean McVay. I don't know if the Chargers
Yeah.
could do this with currently the way the
No.
roster is constructed.
No,
And
not at
even from
all.
the standpoint, I don't think Harbaugh is anywhere close to as good of, yeah, he's close, but he's not as good.
I think Harbaugh is an excellent coach.
Right.
My thing is when you look, I think the reason why Harbaugh, and as a big supporter, the
Right.
reason why Harbaugh is not a top five coach in the league right now is simply because he hasn't been able to build a dominant staff. When
Hmm.
you look at the best coaches in the league right now, they have a dominant staff. And
Correct.
that's the thing that, I mean, defensively he did, obviously with Minter. That was a hit beyond words. I mean, he's the best defensive coordinator during his time, easily.
Yeah.
But from an offensive standpoint, no, we were trash.
Right.
Absolute trash. And I can go on for ages, but the fact of the matter is he didn't create a good staff. I get there's a lot of ifs with my idea of, or the Rams idea, but if that is there, you have a good coach, this is the way to go. There's no better way than this. Is my opinion, but there's a lot of ifs to it. I agree.
On the topic of some of these players that we have mentioned, we mentioned the likes of Miles Garrett last year and what he did, putting up 23 sacks, and
Excellent season.
Cooper Kupp in 2021. Our main point of the video today, we're going to be talking about the primes of some of the greatest players of all time and
Yeah.
players in general. And we are going to be doing another draft video as far as the best players in their prime go. So, Akhilesh, let us
Mhm.
start with the coin flip. Actually, let's start off by sharing the screen first. That is,
Just for everybody's info, so when we say prime, we're relating it to one season.
yes. So
So
it's
it
not
would
like,
be,
yeah,
for example, you would say like a Marino 84, etc. Like you're limiting it to one season. So
right.
that's where that cutoff point is gonna happen.
So,
So
Akhilesh, go
I'm
ahead.
interested to see. Okay, why don't you choose this time? Heads or tails? Because I
Okay,
went last time. So
I'm gonna choose heads.
okay. And which side do you want to take off the bat?
Um, I'm gonna start off. I'm gonna start off with offense just because I think matchup wise it'll help me kind of figure out what your game plan is.
All right, you giving me the defense once again. All right.
Yeah, I'll take it. I have a feeling I know what you're gonna do defensively to start off,
Yeah.
so I'm fine with it. I mean, I know you.
I think everybody in this planet knows who my first pick on defense is going to be.
Yeah, for
So
sure. It is
we'll see.
tails, so
It is tails.
you
Okay.
get the first pick. That means,
Oh, really?
yeah. So you want to
Uh,
do defensively? We can start off with it.
you know what? I'll give you the first pick on offense. Actually, I'll give you the first pick
So
on
you're
offense.
gonna defer. All right, I'll take that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start off. I mean, I have to start off with my quarterback just from the standpoint of what he can or can do. The
Mm-hmm.
question is what specific year do I pick? Because the
Mm.
issue with the quarterback position is I could choose easily the greatest quarterback of all time,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
There we
That
go. You're getting
very
it.
very theoretical, but my argument is he the best quarterback ever prime wise in a specific
Mm.
year? There
Yeah,
are a few competitors with him in that position. 84 Dan Marino, 2004 Peyton Manning, 2018 or 22 Patrick Mahomes. Hell, if you're talking
yeah.
Brady's best season, is it 2007? Is it 2016?
Right.
That is the big question. I think I'm
Mm.
going to go with 2007 Tom Brady because he has chemistry with one of the greatest
Okay.
receivers of
I'm
all
good.
time in his prime.
I'm good.
Um,
All right. I feel good now. Okay. I feel good. Okay. I feel good.
yeah, I'm gonna go
Okay.
'07 Brady.
Okay, so you got your quarterback out. I'm actually comfortable with that now. Okay, thank you. I'm actually comfortable with that now. So I'm not gonna worry about my quarterback position for a while. I'll take that as a last pick if it comes to that situation. But because I have a person in mind, I don't think people give enough respect to this guy at all for the way he blew out everybody in that season. But I'll leave it to rest. Yash is his mind is going crazy right now. He doesn't know where I'm gonna go. But I'm going to build. I said this before. A quarterback is best with his best receivers. So I'm going to start off by taking the greatest receiver, and to me, the greatest single season receiving year in history. I'm going to go with Jerry Rice in '87. I'm going to knock that. I'm going to knock that out of the park. I'm going to knock that out of the park. Just gonna, I mean, you talk about the guy yak every single statistic you want to put on the market right now. That's JR. So I'm gonna take Jerry Rice here at my X. I'm gonna wait on my quarterback. I got all the time in the world now.
You know what? That's fine with me because I can take
Yeah,
a matchup guy who I thought you might pick him, but I'll take
it's
him right
fine.
now. I'm gonna
It's
take
fine.
2012 Calvin Johnson.
I don't mind
Um,
at all. I
I
don't
mean,
mind at all.
I got probably the best combination as far as deep ball throwing to a
Yeah.
big ass target, right?
Yeah, you know what's crazy though? You know what's crazy about the whole sentence, Yash, that you just made? You forgot the guy that was on '07,
I'm
who
fine with
literally
that.
dominated with
Well, no,
'07. So
I would take 12 Calvin Johnson over.
I don't really know. But
I would take
dude,
12 Calvin
12
Johnson
Calvin
over
Johnson was a
'07
guy.
Randy Moss.
12 Calvin Johnson was the man, but at the same time, you got to understand what defense I'm bringing. And let me just remind 2000, like, as a Patriots fan, we know what Tom Brady got absolutely crushed on in the Super Bowl. So I'll leave it there. And I do have first pick on defense. Just letting everybody know.
That's fine.
All right.
I feel like I have
Next pick.
better. Believe it or not, I this is the one area I feel I have better defensive knowledge of in this specific
Yeah, you do.
video
You do.
than
You do. You do.
Akilesh.
You do.
So
You
I feel
do.
I'm fine defensively. I like
You do.
I'm gonna quote John Moran, who I was originally talking about earlier. I'm fine on defense.
Yeah, that's never happened in his career. Okay, but uh, hmm. Now the next pick for me, I actually got to think a little bit. Um, because I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
essentially
do. I'm gonna do a little research. Hold up. Let me just ask. Are you see what page are you seeing right now when I do this?
I see the slide right now.
Okay, cool, 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 cool.
Yeah, I see
Awesome.
the slides right now.
Hmm.
Ooh, dude, this is a little tough. I'm not gonna lie. I'm thinking quite hard about this.
By the way, I wanted to ask Akhilesh, what do you think about making this a little bit more? What the hell? Hold up. Sorry, one sec. I don't know what the microphone. Hello, testing. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
I don't know what the hell happened to my headphones just now.
Okay.
My ears just died. That is fine with me. But do you want to make this more interesting by doing that decade rule that you did last time, where we can only choose 3 or 4 players in a decade?
Nah, that's not good. No way.
All right,
If we do that, we're at a loss, huge loss.
that is true.
I don't think we should do that. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Although it would be interesting. No, man. I don't think I'm gonna sway through that. Mm, Okay, I've thought about this a while because I'm trying to think about my next picks too. But I'll I'll take Randy Moss in '07. I'll take Randy Moss in '07.
All right, that's fine. I'm fine with that. I kind of expected that.
Yeah, it's fine. That's yours. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have got two receivers. That's crazy.
You got the two greatest receivers of all time in their prime, but I
Mm-hmm.
just don't think you got the two. You got the best prime of all time in Jerry
Mm-hmm.
Rice. That's fine. You screwed me
Mm-hmm.
over with that pick. I got the other best prime of a receiver ever in 2012, Calvin Johnson, who was the
Right.
biggest matchup nightmare of all time.
I don't know. I don't know about that, but
Now, my big question is what to go next, and I'm
yeah.
considering offensive line. I don't think I'm going to go offensive line. I think I'm going to
Mm,
go. Now, I want to see something real quick before I make this pick. Um, because it will depend on what type of tight end I'm going for.
mm,
I just want to see the stats of this real quick. If my computer can stop freezing on me, that is. Ah, don't we love computers freezing? Hold on, give me one sec. Let me look this up on my phone. Actually, no. My computer start working again. Yeah, I'm gonna go with 2011 Rob Gronkowski.
expected. I don't mind that. Actually, if it's expected. Mhm.
I mean, best blocking tight end of all time. In his prime, he had 17 touchdowns and he got
I
1,300
don't
yards.
mind that.
I've always said
Yeah.
that Tony Gonzalez is the better tight end all time, but I do think in his prime, there's no one stopping Rob Gronkowski. And when you add what he could do on the blocking end to this receiving game, he had more yards this year than Tony Gonzalez has had in any season,
Mm-hmm.
1,360, I think it was. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna go with Rob Gronkowski for my tight end.
Okay. Mm. Mm. So my next pick is actually going to be quite interesting. I want a guy who. Hmm, I got to do some research here. Give me 1 second, guys. Sorry, some phone call. Sorry, guys. Mm. All
All
right.
right, so
So
here we go again.
okay, so now it's my pick, right? Now the way I'm thinking about it is I know if I go a certain route, and I'm not really worried about what you do at certain positions. Mm,
Sorry, give me one sec.
hmm. I'm trying to build my team as. a do it all, I can go anywhere type team. So it's
You're seeing
probably
the
not the.
slideshow, right?
Yeah, I see the slideshow.
Cool, cool, cool.
Mm, I gotta really think about my next one. Sorry guys, I'm doing research at the same time because I'm trying to create a team, but at the same time, the names that I'm thinking of are just. Because there are some great running backs here, but at the same time, I'm trying to think of a team that, you know what? I'm gonna take the risk. I'm gonna select Marshall Falk as my running back, and I want to take the 2000 Marshall Falk.
That is fine. That is all fine and well. Because I was going to, I'm so glad you took 2000 Marshall Falk. Because this man has
Wait, wait.
multiple years.
Oh, frick.
No, no,
I
no,
said
no, no, no,
2000. I
no,
said
no.
2000. That's fair. No, actually, I don't mind.
What?
I'm not concerned. I'm not concerned. Any year of Marshall Falk is fine with me, but you can take it. I don't
Yeah, I
mind.
mean, to be fair, you could really take any year he had from
Wait,
1999
are we
to
allowing the same
2001.
player and but difference in years? Are we allowing that?
I was under the assumption we were. We didn't set that rule, right? So,
All right, I'll allow
do
the
you want
pass. I'll
to?
allow the play. I mean, it doesn't make the most sense
That is true.
technically,
Yeah, that is
because
true.
if we're talking about prime players, it doesn't make the most sense. But I don't know.
Okay, I mean, if that's the case, that kind of screwed me over a little more than I was
No, you know
expecting.
what? No, you know what? No, we didn't make the rule before. I guess it's fine. I'll allow it. I'll
Sorry, give
allow
me
it.
one sec.
If it's if it, I mean if we didn't discuss it before, it also doesn't make sense. It's your call. If you want to have it, I'll let you have it. I'll let you have it.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Give me one sec.
Ooh, I actually have a good idea now. Ooh.
For some reason, my computer is malfunctioning on my side.
All right.
All right, there
Uh,
we go.
okay.
Um, for my next pick, if we're not doing the rule for doing multiple
It's up. It's
players,
up to you, Yash. If you want to, I'll
let's flip
allow
a
it.
coin for it. How about that?
Okay, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. That's a good one.
All right, so you pick since I picked last time.
I'll go ahead.
Heads? Okay. It is heads.
All
So
right. Yeah,
we will
we're not
not
gonna
do
allow
that.
it. We're not gonna allow it. Oh God, I
Shoot.
mean, that was
That
close. That was close.
that's
Cause I knew you had Brady, and if you had, okay, by the way, you got to change that 1000 Falk to my side.
yes, that is true.
Yeah, I know you wanted him. I know you wanted him, but
That is unfortunate. That is honestly still fine.
because I know that was a running back you wanted. I knew you wanted Falk.
Actually,
Now I think I know what running back you'll go with now, but
who do you think?
I think at your running back, no, actually, you know what? No, if I say this, I could be caught. So I don't know.
Okay, that's
I
fine.
don't know.
I think for my next pick, I'm gonna go with a person. I'm gonna wait one round because I don't think you're going to go for this, but I need a second receiver right now. And for my sake, I'm gonna go with 2021 Cooper Cup as my flex. Um,
That was my pick. That was my pick.
yes.
That was my pick.
I mean, the guy almost
He's
won the
good.
Triple
He's
Crown.
good.
He
Yeah.
had 149 receptions, if I remember correctly. He has the most yards of any player in regular and postseason in a single season. Um, was fantastic in the Super Bowl. And he had 1947 yards, which is the second most in a single season. I will take him
Mhm.
gladly as my slot receiver. He's great in the slot. He's great on the outside. He gives me a lot of valuable versatility on this offense now, and he gives me a player that Tom Brady, a type of player that Tom Brady is very familiar with, that shifty slot receiver, who I might also add is White. I'm just kidding, but
Okay.
that is a big thing. If you saw the Tom Brady roast, that was actually kind of one of my favorite jokes in that whole thing.
Uh,
Regardless, it is your pick, Akilesh.
okay, quick question. When we're doing fullbacks, are we going fullback, or we could do a
Up to
technically a
you.
second running back?
Up to you.
Okay, I like that. I like that a lot now. I like that a lot. Hmm. 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 So, when it comes to great running backs, it's a mix of being able to be on the receiving, but also being able to run down people's throats. Uh, but at the same time, you got to be shifty too, because this team, the entire team, just looks shifty right now. But I'm not gonna go for a running back right now, because I build my team from the trenches. So with my tackle, I'll take probably what's obvious, Anthony Munoz in 88 at my tackle
Oh,
spot.
okay. You didn't take the year of Anthony Munoz that I thought you were going to take, which is fine.
Yeah,
I thought you were going
but
to take 1985 Anthony Munoz.
I took 88 because for my thing is I need Super Bowl caliber squad. So Anthony Munoz is going to be that. I mean, he's led this team to a Super Bowl. Again, Anthony Munoz is one of those guys where you can't say the season was better than the other.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean, if you're
true.
going by slight metrics, yeah, 85 was better. I took 88 simply because that was a Super Bowl year.
That
So,
that is a theme I want to mention when we once we get to the defense side of the ball because I think that's going to show up a little bit more on the defense side of the ball with a few players.
mm.
But you mentioned about the championship year. I want to get back to that later on. But for the time being,
For defense,
no, 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 no.
I don't know if it matters as much, but
No, no, no. Just from the standpoint, not even like when it comes to the player selections, just from the standpoint of like this is a theme we're going to see as far as players being put in their prime years, as far as
yeah,
people
that's true.
saying one player. Yeah. Well, so
That's true.
I'll get to that point later on. But because
Yeah.
you've alluded a lot to the fullback position, I'm going to take my pick now. I know you're going to take this pick at some point if I don't. I'm going to go to 1963 Jim Brown. Uh,
Oh, I'm okay with this. So okay
18,
with this. Hey,
1840.
by the way, Yash, you keep doing this, man. Nomunio's not on your team. You wish you had him, but
Oh,
he's
sure.
not
Yeah,
there
yeah. I
anymore.
am doing this a lot. I'm
I'm
nervous
joking.
right
I'm
now.
joking. Wait, no. You were right with your 63. You were right
Yeah.
with your
Yeah.
63.
Yeah.
Keep
But I'm
proceeding.
going to go
I don't mind.
1963
I
Jim Brown.
don't mind. Okay, I don't mind.
1848 yards at that point,
It's
12
fine.
touchdowns, all that. I will take that any day of
Okay.
the week
So
if I
I
want that
can
as a
wait on that.
fullback because nobody uses a fullback these days, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
got to take
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah. I'm gonna do something right now, and you might not be happy, but I don't really care. And it might not also make the most sense. I'll also say that it might not make the most sense. Give me 2015 Antonio Brown on my flex. Give me, dude. This man was a weapon at the flex position. People don't give him enough credit. This dude dominated like nobody's business. I'll
Dude,
take Antonio Brown at my flex at 2015. Come on.
look,
And that was before, he went toxic. Let's just be honest with that.
all I'm going to say is you better pick your defensive players properly because otherwise this practice is going to be a walking TMZ headline, man.
No,
Sorry,
this is
excuse me.
easy.
Excuse me. I'm not even gonna say TMZ because we have a buddy, both of I think you know who I'm talking about from high school,
Hmm.
Joshua Nazareth. Shout out to you, Joshua. But you are a walking TMZ headline. So this guy is gonna catch on to this and make this a rumor within the next probably 15 hours upon you constructing this team the way it is right now. I mean,
I mean,
Antonio Brown.
It's Randy Moss in '07, which was not the bad one. It was just Antonio Brown in 15, which wasn't the bad Brown. Let's be
Sure,
honest.
but let's take in context. If we're taking those players, we're also
Yeah,
taking the media frenzy that went around them. Even if they were not
that's
divas at
fair.
that
That's
time,
fair. That's
that's
fair.
gonna lead to a lot of photos on by the paparazzi, which I don't think anybody wants.
Yeah, but at the same time, you got Anthony Munoz and Falk, who are extremely serious people. So
That's what I'm saying.
I don't
If I'm
mind.
you,
I don't mind.
I would pick my head coach and my quarterback very, very well from a leadership standpoint at that point.
Yeah, yeah.
So for my next pick, I think I'm gonna go with my running back now. I'm gonna go with
Mm,
the 2006 LaDainian Tomlinson.
okay, okay.
There was another player I was considering. I was picking 80. I was considering Eric Dickerson in 1984, but I did want to go
Yeah.
with someone who could get me more scores of the football. LaDainian
Mm,
Tomlinson can give me that at ease. He also had 1,600 yards. I think it was one of the better all-purpose seasons in general by a running back, and it came in the midst of all these running backs having their prime, and LaDainian Tomlinson was by and far the best running back during this time. So if we're talking about a player in his prime who's better than all these other great running backs, all-time great running backs, I would take LaDainian Tomlinson 19 in 2006. And I need a guy who can just run down your throat at any ease through someone like a Marty Schottenheimer offense, while also giving me several of these passing options that I can rely on easily because I got 2007 Tom Brady. So I'm good with what I have right now.
Mm, okay, for my next pick, because I don't have to worry about my fullback, tight end. I don't have to worry about it. It's the guard and centers that I have to think about, right? So
Yeah.
at the center position, or no, let me take that back. Doesn't really matter what this guy plays because he's gonna play anywhere on the line. He can at least. Yeah, at the guard, give me Larry Allen in '98.
98 Larry Allen.
Yeah,
Okay. I'm fine with that. I am really fine with that.
I don't. Uh, this is actually quite getting quite interesting because your offense is also not anything. Last time the offense wasn't of anything much. It was based on our defense that the entire game was won. This time it's a little different.
That's correct. Um,
Ooh,
with my next pick, I'm gonna fill out my skill positions first. You picked your tackle, so I'm already good there. I'm gonna go with 2019 Michael Thomas.
that's another big receiver. So you're just going big, big, big. Okay.
Big, 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 and receptions upon receptions upon receptions, mismatch.
Mm,
You picked 87 Rice, so that kind of screwed me a little as far as my game plan. But if you're gonna do that, I'm gonna take the three guys that were all close to triple crown players
mm,
as far as that, and just give you a mismatch nightmare from that end. And I mean, Calvin
yeah, I mean,
Johnson also
you
gets
better be
4-3
praying
speed,
for one. Yeah.
so I got that
Um.
too.
All right. Now, okay. So let me just fill out my offensive line, I guess. Um, on my center, this is actually a tough one because I've been thinking about this for a while. But I need a guy that can do a lot. My offense got to be versatile. And this might not be the popular pick by most, but I like Jason Kelsey 2022. I'll take them as my center.
You screwed me because I was gonna take Jason Kelsey another season, and I can't do that now. But I don't think that was his best season, so
Wait,
I'm gonna change
yeah, hold up. No, 22 doesn't make any sense. Can I change the year? Because we're not doing. Do you
up to
mind if
you.
I change the year?
Up to you. I'm
Uh,
fine with that if since you yeah.
uh, 22. 22 was a really good season for him, though.
It was. I just don't think it's his best season. Yeah, I don't think even it's his second best season.
Uh, 22 is the year they made the Super Bowl, and that was a fantastic season by him. So I don't know. I mean, I would say, wait, was it 22 or 23 they made the Super Bowl? I don't remember now. I think 22 was, right?
Yeah, they made the Super Bowl in 2022.
Yeah, I would, yeah. Let me go 21, Kelsey.
Oh, that's even better actually for me.
Yeah.
I mean, 21 Kelsey was actually worse than 22. 22 to me is his third best season. I was gonna go 17 Kelsey. To me, that is his best season.
17 was good, but the reason why actually no, go back to 22. You convinced me. Go back to 22. The reason why I like 20, 22, 21 more than 17 is because the offense was so much more dynamic and it allowed you to variantly do so many different things. So I like his application of 22 here more than I like it from other seasons. But
Well,
now
Akilesh
you got
went
your offensive
with his
line.
offensive line. I'm going to start
Yeah.
with my offensive line. He talked about being dynamic, I'm gonna go with 2021 Trent Williams for that reason. The best ever,
Oh,
the best ever offensive tackles or offensive line season in the PFF history by far. That too. Someone who just matchup wise was an absolute
oh
nightmare
God.
for players that year. I
PFF,
think
sheesh,
forget that. But I mean, my big thing
sheesh,
is
man.
that 4 year
Golly,
stretch
jeez,
from
holy smokes.
2020 to 2023.
PFF.
Other than
If
Anthony,
PFFs are justification for great tackles, oh, here we go.
it's
Holy
just
golly, jeez.
let's be honest. There's no
Yeah.
anywhere else where we can find like statistics for offensive lines. So this is my best way of providing a stat as far as just citation goes. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't put PFF as my main source. But my main argument being, if we just look at him from film that year, this guy was a matchup nightmare in any sense. I think his 4 year run from 2020 to 2023, other than Anthony Munoz, is the best run by a tackle in NFL history. His prime was just, I mean, it's dominant. He was a great run blocker. You saw a 6'6" guy coming at you that fast. You were going to, try to bow down and say, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry," as quickly as you possibly can. You were pretty much going to do what we call as Indians namas to Trent Williams. I mean, the guy was terrifying to see coming at you like that. Um, or as Chris Collinsworth elegantly put it when it comes to Landon Dickerson, having a taste of Trent Williams coming down your throat is not fun at all. But yeah, Trent Williams. Long story short, I mean, I think he only allowed 2 sacks that year. My big concern with Trent Williams, he was penalized heavily that year. I think he had 13 flags in a span of just seven of his 15 or 16 games that he played that year. That's not ideal. But given the fact that you took Anthony Munoz and I can't take 85 Munoz, I will gladly take 21 Trent Williams, who I think was the second best tackle in his prime, without a doubt. And I do think that is his best season. So I will go 21 Williams.
All right. Mm, all right. So my next pick, I'm gonna go ahead and fill out my tight end position. I'm gonna go with Tony Gonzalez. Now, what year of Gonzalez I go with is the question. Uh, what year of
I'm
Gonzalez
surprised you're
do I
not
go?
going with someone else. I don't think Tony Gonzalez had a prime as good as some of the other tight ends.
That's fair, but also I'm looking from a team perspective.
Okay, that's fair.
I'm not just looking at who's going to throw it up because I know Travis Kelce in 2020 had a better season. I know Kittle in terms of his 1 year prime type in 2018 probably had a better season than what Gonzalez has had over any specific year in his career. Sharp in 98 probably had a better one.
Antonio Gates in
Antonio Gates in
2004.
'04. Antonio Gates was literally my second pick in 2004. The reason why I'm going with Gonzalez is based on this is a very ironically a pass heavy team, based on the way I've constructed it. Um,
Yeah, that is
you
true.
know what? No, I do need some blocking though.
But
But
I mean,
I have a great offensive line already. But um, honestly, a dream offensive line if I think about it. But I need versatility too, though. So, you know what? Give me Antonio Gates in 2004. You convince me once again. Give me Antonio Gates in 2004.
I'll say this, you got a lot, and I mean a lot of touchdowns on your team in general. Between Moss and Rice itself, I mean that
Right,
is
exactly. That itself is there. But the thing is, you gotta find a way to balance it.
that is
And
fair.
I'm kicking myself for taking. uh, I wish I took somebody else at a different position, but I'll tell at the end of the episode.
For my next pick, I think I'm gonna go with 1984 Dwight Stevenson. Um, I think he has actually the best
Interesting.
season by a center of all time.
Hmm.
Uh, the Dolphins as a whole that year allowed just 14 sacks in the
Yeah,
regular
and then they
season.
met the Niners in the Super Bowl.
Well, we're talking about the regular season here, as far as just if you're going to go prime.
Mm.
Dwight
Oh,
Stevenson,
really? We don't care about the
and
Super Bowl.
no, well, I'll get to the Super Bowl. The interesting thing about that, Dwight Stevenson allowed only half a sack the entire year, including the Super Bowl, against that
Mm,
vaunted Niners defense. So it goes to show you, I mean, the Niners could get dominance on anybody else on that Dolphins offensive line, they could not get it whatsoever on Dwight Stevenson. I think Dwight
I'll say
Stevenson.
this about or about the center position in general. The center position is, I mean, the way at least I look at a great center is his ability to not allow sacks on another individual. Rarely you'll see sacks on a center. Very rarely, because oftentimes it's on a guard or on a tackle. So it's for
True,
me a
but
great
half a
center is
sack is
allowed a.
insane.
I understand, but it's for me it's insane. I think if you can allow your guards and you as a collective unit not to have sacks. So I mean Jason Kelsey did that, but I'll leave it there. Okay, so now for me next, this is I've been thinking about this decision way too much, but I'm still thinking about it. So, all right, I think I have my fullback, which I'm thinking of honestly doing as an H back too, and then I have my tight end, which I just filled out with Antonio Gates. I have my quarterback. I'm gonna leave my quarterback at my last pick because I want you to really think about your defense as long as you can. Because y'all know
Okay.
my first pick. It's because I'm a Bill Belichick supporter for life. So, um, do you mind going to my slide, Josh? If you don't mind.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry. One sec.
Yeah. All right. So for me, I only have the fullback and the quarterback to take care of, right? So the fullback is very interesting for me because I have created Larry Allen, Jason Kelsey, guys who can allow the run to also work. You know what? Put 2000 Falk at the fullback.
Oh, okay.
Okay. It's a huge risk that I'm about to take. I don't know, but I'm not. I'm not afraid because there's no defensive player that stopped this man. Give me 97 Barry Sanders.
Okay.
Give me 97 Barry Sanders. And the thing is, the problem with what I've just created for their defense is you don't know which direction I'm gonna go. That's
That
the
is true, yeah.
problem. That's the problem with what I've just done right now. With yours, to an extent, I can understand. To an extent, I can understand. With mine, you don't know now.
The big thing I'm looking at from my turn, I'm gonna tell you at the end of this, but I have a game plan as far as how I'm gonna get to you guys. I want to see who your quarterback is though, because I am very interested in seeing who your quarterback is. And you can go a few different directions. I want to see because that will tell me a lot about how your team is going to, how I need to dictate my plan. I'm gonna go for my last pick. I'm gonna go with 1995 Randall McDaniel. To me, he has the second best guard position of any player. You went with 1998 Larry Allen. I
Mm,
personally might have gone 1995 Larry Allen. I'm also surprised
98,
neither of
actually.
us would have gone 1981 John Hanna. Clearly, we
Yeah,
would have had.
exactly. I would have picked 78 Hannah, but
Yeah, I
80.
mean,
I would have
John.
picked 78
Yeah,
Hannah. Again, the problem with these type of guys, unlike like Michael Thomas, Antonio Brown, is like really their entire career was just dominant. So if I went
right.
98 or
Yeah.
95 Allen, it wouldn't matter much. Like I'll be honest, but
Well, the reason why I
uh
said Larry Allen 1995 is I think he's the only play. I think that's the only time. It's like, Tom Brady has been Tom Brady for his entire career, but if there's one year you could pick and say that's his year where if you put him against any other player in the league, like you do the matchups, right? All time 84 versus '07 Brady. That's the guy you remember. For me, I don't remember 98 Larry Allen as much when I'm looking at guard matchups. I'm saying, oh, who do you think? Is it 81 Hannah, or even with John Hannah, he has multiple of those seasons. That's the interesting thing. But with Larry Allen, it's always 95 Larry Allen. It's always 95 Randall McDaniel. So that's the thing with Randall McDaniel or Larry Allen. That's why I'm surprised you didn't go Larry Allen. But yeah, you are correct about that. But now let's see what you do with the quarterback position.
this is actually I've been dreading this for a while. Because okay, I'll be honest with you. Peyton Manning in 2013 is the greatest single season by a quarterback ever. Period.
Yeah.
You think about what he was able to do that season, period, that's the greatest ever. You think about Marino in 84, that's the most revolutionary year by a
Yeah.
quarterback ever. Now, Steve Young in 94 was also insane.
Hmm.
Insane. He already has Jerry Rice, that tandem's already there. You think about Montana in 89, no, that's a really good season too. But I know with this team what I need, and it's throughout the team. Unpredictability. A defense cannot know which way I'm going to go. If I give it to Sanders, shifty as anything, he's going to find a way. Marshall Faulk, for a long time, was also an insanely good blocking fullback. He could, I mean, as a running back, he was really good when it came to blocking, extremely physical. But I can also dump it down to him. He could be another thousand. You think about my offensive line, he can really move around anywhere. If I think about my receivers, Jerry can play inside, outside. Antonio Brown also similar in terms of with Jerry. You think about Randy Moss, long distance all day. I think about Antonio Gates, a guy who can block for me, but at the same time is going to get reliable receptions. So I need unpredictability. I need a guy who can move around the pocket easily. Now I'll be honest with you. My pick initially was Drew Brees 2011. And that's a sleeper pick because of the
It
amount
is.
of touchdowns that guy threw.
And the amount of touchdowns he threw to different receivers at that.
Different receivers that too.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm honestly nervous making this pick. Shoot.
I just need you to not pick one specific guy and I'm good.
I feel like you're not thinking of this guy, and I'm scared that it's not going to be a threat to you. But I don't know if I really don't know if there's not a perfect quarterback for my team. I'll be honest with you. There's not a perfect quarterback.
Actually, there is. There is one specific quarterback. I mean, you said everything right so far, but you haven't said this guy, so I'm just praying right now.
I don't.
Actually, there are two if I
There's
think
two.
about it, but
There's two actually. There's two. You're right. There's two.
I don't think it's the same two you're thinking of as me.
I hope it is. 2018 Patrick Mahomes. That's my quarterback.
Come on, damn it! God damn
I,
it!
I, I there we go. There we
God
go.
damn you!
There we go. There we go. I had to. I had to. And now I am complete. And now my offense is complete. You don't know where to go now. You don't know where to go. You're a lost man in the ocean now.
I
Pacific,
just needed you
Atlantic.
not to pick Mahomes, even if it's 22 Mahomes. Same thing. Freaking goddamn Patrick Mahomes.
You can go Pacific, you can go Atlantic, you can go Indian. They're
There's
stranded in
no
some ocean,
there
and
is
you're not
no
coming back.
quarterback that terrifies me more with this roster than 18 Patrick Mahomes.
And I've got you now. It's over.
I don't think it's over.
It's not over because I got to worry about your offense. Oh god. Okay, wait. Can you show me your roster? Because I gotta now notate down what you got on me. All right. So you have '07 Brady, can't move for his life. You got '06 LaDainian Tomlinson.
I got the best offensive line as far as pass
I don't know.
protection
I don't know about. I don't
between.
know about. No, not. I wouldn't say pass protection.
Oh, for sure.
Not over my line. I
The
like my
only
line
the,
in terms of
the
pass
only
protection.
the only issue I have with my offensive line is that there are a lot of penalties between 21 Trent Williams and 95 Randall McDaniel. You are going to catch me off sides a lot. So,
And because I'm gonna create a smart team. You know that now. I'm gonna
right.
create a smart team now.
But I
Um.
do have I definitely have a better tight end than you. I have
Yeah, you do.
a
You
lot of
do.
size on you and I have a lot of power run
You
on
don't.
you.
I don't think you have to really worry much about size because if your quarterback can't move, then it's going to be useless, right? So,
Not too much given the offensive line that I have.
all right. So, okay, I think to an extent I feel comfortable knowing what your team is. Okay, go to slide two. So, I'm going first on defense, right? I
Yeah.
mean, my pick, I think you already know, but my question is how are we doing this? Are we doing two inside defensive linemen, two edge?
Two
Like, how are
edge,
we going about this?
two edge, two IDL, two linebackers, two corners, and then one free safety, one safety.
And then one flex like that.
Yeah,
All right, so that's 6, 9,
that
or
should be 11.
that should
Yeah,
be 11, right?
yeah.
Okay. So if we're going linebackers, are we restricting it to like middle, will, Sam linebackers, or
Yeah,
is an outside linebacker an edge?
off the ball linebacker. So Lawrence Taylor, for instance, would be considered like a 3-4 edge. So yeah, we
So
can
would he be an edge? Okay. I mean, go ahead. You can put him in.
86 Lawrence Taylor, I'm guessing.
Yeah, yeah. Come on.
Okay.
Come on. I mean, come on. It's.
That's
Come on.
fine. I will take
I mean,
uh
everybody knew my pick. That's fine with me, honestly.
I will take as my next pick, and specifically for the time being, I will take him as my flex. I think it's 81 Ronnie Lott as a rookie.
That's a very good pick. Ooh, that's a good pick. That's a good
Yeah.
pick. I'll give you that. Oh, we can't take the same player. Ah,
Yeah.
man, that would be nice, huh?
Yeah, well, you
84
made the
lot.
rule.
I made the rule. I did make the rule, and I'm not gonna go back on it. Now, since you've taken that pick, I'm gonna go ahead. See, my main objective is this. Your biggest weapon is Gronk and your offensive line. The rest of those positions, we can definitely figure out a way to move around it. That I'm not as concerned about. My biggest worry is your offensive line and getting to Brady, because we know the way to beat Brady is by getting to him. If you look at all of his Super Bowls, any Super Bowl that he's had less than 2 sacks upon, he's lost, or he's won. Any more than that, he's lost, even regardless of the number of points. So I know I have to attack that. Now there are a lot of players, Hall of Famers, that are technically better than this guy that I'm about to put, but I think this was maybe his arguably the most dominant year by a defensive lineman ever. And I don't say that lightly because I like defensive players too much. There are 2 seasons of this guy that you could argue against, but I'm going to go ahead and say give me 2014 JJ Watt as my second edge. I know you wanted him. I know he was your
Yeah.
sleeper. I know
As
you
your
thought I
edge.
wasn't
Oh,
going to go
okay.
for him.
As your edge. Okay, I'm fine with
Uh,
that.
hold up. No, you gave me that one. Put him in defensive lineman. Come on now.
Yeah.
You gave me that again.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, either which ways he's gonna dominate. I don't care. But
You know, I would love 14 JJ Watt, but there are some issues that come with that. Would be the big issue is matchup wise. I don't think he would be the best against someone like Anthony Munoz per se, because
he's
Munoz
not gonna
was,
go up against Anthony Munoz.
yeah, yeah, true. I also think that from a standpoint, Larry Allen 98, the big thing about him, he was better as a pass protector than a run blocker in
That's fair.
98 specifically.
That's fair.
So if I'm losing that, I would lose that. I will take uh 2018 Aaron Donald. Since your
Okay,
quarterback is
that's
Patrick
completely
Mahomes,
fine.
I need the one guy who owned Patrick Mahomes in the matchup that they played up against, and that was Aaron Donald. He had something like
That's
three
fair.
sacks and 2 forced fumbles on him that game. So I will
But
gladly take
also,
him.
but also understand that his offensive line didn't have Larry Allen. Let me just put that out there. All
That is
right.
fine, but like I said, I mean,
That's
Aaron Donald had 25 tackles for loss
yeah.
that year, so
I mean, I'll give you that. All right. So we have Lawrence Taylor at the edge, and then we have JJ Watt, 2014. See, I'm trying to first build out my defensive line here. That could bite me, but I don't really care. Um,
oh, he's
what would you
okay.
say is your best asset of your offensive line? Your best asset. Is it a run blocking? Is it pass protecting? Your best asset.
I would say
I
my
feel
I would
I
say my
feel it is
best
run blocking.
asset is interior pass protecting. So like in the two between my guard and center, I think I got a lot of good pass protection.
Mm. Hmm. Yeah, I gotta do some research for this because I do want to make sure it matches up. Hmm. I really like the off the ball linebacker type of players. Um, you know what's great about a team, dude, in general? Like
What's
when you
up?
have one MVP and then you line them up with another MVP, it just magically changes the entire scope
It really
of
does.
the team. Give me 71 Alan Page as my second defensive lineman on the inside. A
That
guy
is
who's
fine. That is actually
guy
fine.
who's actually absolutely dominated anybody he played against, and he played with wrath.
That's fine actually because I think 71 Allen Page, if you were taking his prime years, which is 69 to 71, that is actually the worst of his 3 years in my opinion.
That's
Um,
crazy.
so yeah, I
Wait,
mean,
which year did he win MVP? Wasn't it 71?
I think it was 1970.
I think it was 71. Let me check. Let me check. If it is 71, I gotta stick by that. I mean, if it was 70, was 70 or 71. Ooh. Uh,
Yeah, between 1970 and 1969, I think he had the highest two
no,
season
yeah,
approximate
70,
value of all.
71 is when he won MVP, so I
Oh, he
don't
did?
mind. I'll
Okay.
take
Okay.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But between 1969 and 1970, he had the highest 2 year run as far as approximate value of all time. That is a fun fact if you guys want to learn that. But I'm
As
fine
Charles
with that.
Barkley says, statistics that don't matter in life at all.
Yeah, that is true. That
But hey, I respect it though. I respect it. I respect it.
um, given the fact that you have the two best receivers of all time in their prime, I'm tempted to go with cornerback, and I think I will on this position because I think he's going to be. I mean, he's the gold standard at this position, and he's going to be taken up pretty quickly if I don't take him. I'm going to go with 2009 Darrell Revis here. Um, the only guy who really owned Randy Moss while he was still with the Patriots. Um, I mean,
Yeah.
he's he. I mean, this,
That's
this
the greatest single season by a corner ever. Like I have to be honest.
I mean,
That's
six
the greatest.
interceptions. I think he was only targeted like something like 39 times the entire year, and he allowed 29% completion percentage rate. 39 times and only 29%. Let's put that in context. That is unheard of. And the amount of receivers he went through that year. I mean, I can't think off the top of my head, but the list is ridiculous. It's Terrell Owens, Randy Moss, Chad Ochocinco. Like the list goes on and on of Hall of
Yeah.
Fame receiver after Hall of Fame after Pro Bowl receiver after Pro Bowl receiver. He just locked down all of them. None. I think only one receiver he had more than 60 yards in a
Mm,
game against Darrell Revis. He never allowed more than 70 yards on a receiver that entire season. It's
mhm.
ridiculous.
All right. My next pick. Now the thing with your class is you got Brady, and the thing about Brady is Brady doesn't talk about his weaknesses ever, like literally ever. Very rarely he opens up. But the one guy he has said many times, and the one guy Bill Belichick has said many times, is the biggest problem that he's ever faced in his career. There's only one guy that they've really talked about in terms of a defensive player that gave them nightmares. I mean, when you talk about nightmares, I mean nightmares. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like couldn't sleep. Like that's insane. The fact that you couldn't sleep because of one individual, that to me that's crazy.
The question
Because
is, I know who you're
this guy
going at. The question is what year?
this guy could dominate on any side of the field. And again, this idea about what year, this man literally averaged during his time on this team like five
Yeah.
interceptions a season. It doesn't matter.
But it,
But
it at least gives me some kind of breathing room at
it
some point.
doesn't. It doesn't. Trust me, it doesn't, man. It doesn't. I know you want to feel good, but you aren't gonna feel good. Give me
No, no.
2004 Ed Reed.
Okay.
Give me 2004 Ed Reed at my free
Yeah,
safety.
that doesn't matter
Off.
at that point. I mean, I'm screwed with 2004 Ed Reed.
Yeah.
Okay, so my next pick, I have a few players in mind, but I think I'm gonna go with just a checkmate. Akilash has already kind of heavied up his interior line and his edge rushing position. He's still got one edge rusher position, so I don't want him to take the guy that I'm thinking of here. And I also want to kind of checkmate him in a stance, but I'm going to wait on that. In the meantime, I'm going to take the obvious pick for the fact that I don't have an edge right now. I'm going to take Myles Garrett in 2025 with the all-time sack leading, and he has the second most tackles for loss in a season. I need someone next to Aaron Donald in order to be able to get pressure against arguably the best tackle in all of football ever and arguably the best guard in football history. I need production and I need a lot of it. Myles Garrett provides that. And hey, if we're talking about Aaron Donald potentially joining the Rams, why not make it a reality in the hypothetical? As much of an oxymoron as the sentence I just said is, let's make it happen. I need it to happen in this case, unlike the Rams, who can just use a luxury. But I will take 25 Myles Garrett as my edge rusher.
All right, I'm gonna ask something, and it might sound a little cheating, if you will, but can I position my defense such that I only have one off the ball linebacker? I mean, one off the ball linebacker, meaning if I can have more, if I can have more than one outside linebacker as an edge.
One outside linebackers. So you'd have three outside linebackers then, right?
Well, okay, think about this. I would technically have three edges, if you will. Is that allowed?
Um,
All right, but I
yeah.
only have one
Yeah.
linebacker in
Let's
a
do it. Let's do
sense.
it. Let's do it. That
Yeah?
makes it
Is
more
that is that
interesting.
is that
Sure.
okay with you?
Sure.
Okay. I'm not necessarily concerned about your tackling you because you have Jim Brown. I'll give you that, and then you have late LT. But I'm not necessarily concerned about that as much. What I do want is a guy who can pressurize you to, all ends. So I have Lawrence Taylor on the edge. I mean, this combination's worked out for me every single episode, so why not just keep going? Give me, the year matters, or it doesn't. 87 Reggie White as the second edge.
Okay, that's fine.
Probably the most dominant defensive end to ever play the game. Defensive end, defensive lineman, it really doesn't matter. Because JJ Watt can play outside, he can play inside, Reggie White can play outside. This is what I'm saying, man. When I build teams, I build it with the ability to play anywhere, anytime. Reggie White can play inside, he can down. He can play outside, he can down me. And Reggie White has terrorized every single one of your linemen. I think, at least. So, let's see. Except John Hanna, I don't know if he's... I don't know if you have John... Do you have John Hanna?
No,
I
I
think so,
don't.
right?
No.
Yeah.
So the one thing that
Yeah,
Akhilesh mentioned
he's...
multiple times with his offense is unpredictability, and he emphasized that a lot throughout his offense, especially with the likes of guys like Mahomes, Barry Sanders, and then the two receivers that he has. So I need someone who's a Swiss Army knife. I someone who could fly around the field and who can punish wide receivers especially. And specifically in this instance, Jerry Rice, but a guy who also gave Randy Moss a lot of trouble in those matchups. I need someone who can um, really play around the field and add an extra layer to my defense alongside someone like 1981 Ronnie Lott. I need someone who can stop the tight end touchdown machine that is Antonio Gates. I need someone who can provide a stop to the receptions that Marshall Faulk is going to give me. And who else than someone who can play down in the box, come down and blitz, who is better at jumping and leaping over offensive lines in one single bound like he was Superman. That too with some really, really curly, nice, fluffy hair. Someone who could play strong safety and free safety as well. I was not even really concerned with the fact that you took 04 Reed because I knew you were going to take him. For me,
Yeah.
though, I need this player, and I'm glad you didn't take him. I'm going to take 2010 Troy Polamalu.
Honestly, no worries at all on my side. No worries at all on my side. I don't mind that at all. The slightest bit. I have players lined up, and I'm just making a list right now. So
What are
I
you,
mean,
Santa Claus?
what? No, yeah, I'm making a list, bro. Oh, come on now.
You better
I
check it
got
twice then.
I got all the goodies.
You better check it twice.
I got all the goodies, man. You don't have to worry about it. Don't
I'm going
worry.
to show you who's naughty and nice with this list because I'll tell you this. My players are going to be extremely extremely bad on the bad list and they're going to sack every single player when it's all said and done.
What I don't think you're understanding is I don't got Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drews. I have Patrick Mahomes. So just putting it out there.
Yeah, and I got
And
the two guys
and
who own Patrick Mahomes on my defensive line right now.
right when he was a second year with a horrible offensive line. Yeah, that guy. You're right. Now
No,
with one of the best offensive lines of all time,
even in
which is fair.
2022,
It's fair.
Myles Garrett had like two sacks on him in that game.
Who was his offensive line then? List the players that was his offensive line in
Trey
2022.
Smith, Orlando
Mm-hmm.
Brown Jr., Creed
Mm-hmm.
Humphrey, Joe
Mm-hmm.
Tooney, and
Mm-hmm.
who was his right tackle?
Joe
Andrew
Tooney's the
Wiley.
only credible guy on that team.
Trey
Orlando Brown.
Smith, Creed
No,
Humphrey?
no,
Creed
not
Humphrey
that
was an
level.
all-pro that year.
Not that level though. Not
Creed
that
Humphrey
level.
was an
Not that level.
all-pro.
You realize the amount of the all-pro centers or all-pro players on the offensive line that year and how average they were?
Yeah, but
2022? And
okay,
he made that list. Fine,
okay,
fair. You
okay,
want to
hold
give
on,
him
hold
that?
on.
Okay, no
Let's remind you.
worries.
Let me remind you. You picked 22 Jason Kelsey,
Mm-hmm.
and Creed Humphrey was a first-team all-pro over that guy.
Right. Exactly. And Jason Kelsey at that time was revolutionary.
All right. I'll just take what
So
you can. I'll
look,
just take
I
it.
don't mind. All I'm saying is defensively, I'm creating a team that's punishing. It doesn't, and already I'm sacking you 20 times. So try, best of luck getting the ball. Let me see. All right,
Achilles
so
right now, the
next.
thing with Achilles, he's playing checkmate on me. I mean, he's not really hurting my game plan too much from the standpoint of I'm looking more like just to figure out I'm trying to basically play against his unpredictability right now because he's got better skill position players. The only thing is I want to be able to stop at his weakness, which me, believe it or not, the only weakness on his offensive line, relatively speaking, because all these players are all-time greats, is his offensive line because he didn't pick any of them in their best years per se, right? So,
But
um,
that's the point, though.
yeah, no, no, I get
If
it.
you are really saying best years with this offensive line, it doesn't matter
Right,
because there was never a position other than their rookie years, if you will, that they actually were trash.
true.
There's literally no time. Look, I'll give you this. Jason Kelsey in 2022, sure, you could say was his definitely one of the weaker ones. If you're saying that as a whole, fine, fair. I don't mind that. But I'll say this too. Aaron Donald on multiple occasions has said the one guy I never wanted to face on the offensive line was Jason Kelsey. On
Yeah,
multiple
yeah.
occasions. So I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at
Sure,
that.
but here's my argument to that. The only thing I'm trying to take advantage of in that standpoint is the pass rushing. And I mean, Akhilesh has taken one or two of the guys that I had wished I could have taken, specifically in 2014 JJ Watt. But that's fine. You know, we could still deal with that without a doubt.
All right, so my next pick. So I don't have a cornerback, and looking at your thing, you have huge guys, right? On the thing that you lack though, especially with guys like Michael Thomas, is a sense of physicality. Obviously, Cooper Kupp on the inside is going to be a little dominant guy. Other than Calvin Johnson, you don't really have a guy that's dominant physically. So I think I can take over in that side. Now, the one guy you should have picked, I think, as a cornerback was the guy that I'm going to pick now. Again, this whole idea of unpredictability is where I thrive in. So, I mean, this is the obvious pick, right? But I'm just trying to play against your team. So I'll take Deion Sanders, and
Okay. I
I'll take him.
actually
I actually don't mind, and I know probably where you're going to go with this. I don't mind.
I actually
I,
thought you were going to go a little different, actually, with the cornerback position. There was one
mhm.
player in specific I was looking at that if I were you, I would have picked this guy, given how big my receivers are. And you're talking about physicality. There are no
Yeah,
cornerbacks as physical as this guy, and it's not Sanders as much as you'd like to think.
yeah,
To
and
me, this
honestly, I'm not concerned because I only know one guy is physical. I only know one guy is physical, and I can man. And obviously, the best way to man that guy is by going doubles on him, and worked for a while in when they played against Calvin Johnson. When it comes to Michael Thomas, he has a lot of tells. Although that season was special in 2019, after that we saw a complete decline in his play, and it was very simple. They matched him up in a different way, and that's what I'm planning to do with Michael Thomas. That's not my biggest concern.
Let me ask you this,
Then
Will.
Cooper
Which
Cup
year
and
are you doing Deion Sanders in?
exactly that's what's going to matter now. So if I think about his best year was in '94 with SF. That was his best year by far,
Yeah.
more than any other year. So I would take that. But I'm also thinking about what I need as a whole to worry about. Hmm. Dion's not going to match up against Calvin Johnson. I have a separate guy for that, and I'm not concerned about that either. Dion's not going to be the matchup on Calvin Johnson. He can easily match up on Michael Thomas, especially with Ed Reed in the corner. I'm not concerned about that at all. And also, we have to understand that Deion Sanders did almost always play with guys bigger than him physically, and he's still dominating. And the thing with Deion is he doesn't have to play man to man to win every matchup. So I'm not concerned about this whole physicality thing with Deion. So I'll take Deion in 90. Give me Deion in 90. Hmm. This is the very interesting about Deion. Which way do I want to go? I'm gonna get a bunch. I'll go 94 Dion. I don't mind that. I'll go 94 Dion.
Okay.
Let me get 94 Dion.
I'm fine with that. And I actually have a feeling I know who you're going to take upcoming. So I'm gonna checkmate you with this one, with this
All
pick.
right.
I'm gonna go. I know you want for a big, tall cornerback who can be able to match Calvin Johnson's physicality.
No
I know
worries.
someone who you want someone who can hit and was known to hit and was mean, incredibly mean. So
Mm-hmm.
to me, I think you're probably gonna take Mel Blunt if I'm not. Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
So 6'3", 210. I think it was 210 if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, hard hitter. I'm gonna
Yeah.
take as a checkmate pick.
Go
I'm
ahead.
gonna go with 1975 Mel Blunt. That is his.
That's a
That
wrong decision. That is a wrong decision, my friend.
you think it's
90.
77,
No, I think it's 90. It's a 78. I think that was
78.
his best year
Actually,
ever.
I don't think I don't think that was his best year. I think it's
I think
75 and
by far.
77.
You talk about defensive player of the year, 78. He had the most. And plus, let's remind this: there was a Mel Blunt rule that came about after on during 78, and that's when he absolutely dominated. I get in 75 he had 11 interceptions. I'll give you that. Sorry, 75 he didn't win defensive player of the year, but in 78 is when he proved the entire world wrong. To go 4 interceptions, 55 yards, etc. Three forced fumbles. That too. I'll mind that. He was able to transform himself, and that showed a sense of versatility. I think that's what you needed. Now, I'll say this. You're right. I did want to pick Mel Blunt. Congrats. You got me there. But I'll say this. For your team against mine, it's the wrong decision. Yes, you have Randy Moss, who's a big guy, but at the same time, Mel Blunt lacks speed. And what I have is speed. So you checkmated me technically if you want to give me that. No worries. But I think you took away my pick, but you didn't help necessarily your team. So
I'm
it's fine.
actually right now.
It's
I'm
fine.
not worried about helping my team as far as
It's
that
fine.
pick goes. I'm cool with that. I just wanted to make sure you
See,
didn't get 75 Blunt.
the thing is, I'm looking at your roster. The thing I feel is this: you have Ronnie Lott as a flex in 81, which is a corner. That's a good decision. I'll give you that. Obviously, your defensive line, you're looking at guys who's able to kind of stop Pat Mahomes. I'll give you that.
Right.
Palomalu is not the fastest guy, and there have been lot of situations. I can remind people the 2008 Cardinals. Palomalu is one of my favorite players ever, but he got absolutely smoked in that game by
Oh
Larry
yeah.
Fitzgerald, and it was very simple. They completely took him over with his lack of speed. That
Right.
was Troy Polamalu. Now, if you're looking at my squad, it's quick, it bounces off, etc. And
I
I'm
don't know
not
about
sure,
that. I mean,
Paul.
Jerry.
I
Here's
think
the
so.
thing. Here's the thing.
Jerry Rice. Look, hold on.
Jerry Rice was
Jerry,
no, 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 no. Jerry Rice was he was not vertically fast. He was just good at making people miss.
but
That
that's the
was his
point,
big skill
Yash.
set.
But
Yeah,
Yash, but
sure,
that's the
sure.
point.
I get
Palomalu's
that.
not going to be there down that deep for you to make those calls.
True, and that's why I was relying. That's why I got that pick earlier with '09 Darrell Revis.
And even then, even if Revis is on, I don't know who you're putting Revis on. That's up to you.
Mm,
75 Blunt would have been better as a flex, right? That's my personal
that's
thought. But
fair.
you went 81 Ronnie Lott as a flex. 81 Ronnie Lott, personally to me, should have won Defensive Player that year. He was his rookie year. He should
Right.
have won Defensive Player and Defensive Rookie of the Year. I have always said that. However, in this case, I'm not sure as even as a corner, as a flex, he's the better option. But 75 Blunt was not the best option. But it's fine. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. Now the next pick that I thought you should have went, and I think this is the right pick at the flex for me. He's always been again unpredictability, gem of all stones, can play anywhere on the field. Let me get Rod Woodson from 93 as my flex, and I'll take that
I'm
as my
actually
flex
fine with
player.
that. I don't think he would have fit too well on my team, especially with the way I'm going. But
But at the
I
same
like
time,
that pick.
I don't look again. I'm not. I don't want to keep like saying the same thing again and again. But I don't think that pick was right. I'm just not convinced of that pick that you made.
Let's be honest though. I would
I'm
say
sorry. I don't know.
let's be honest
I'm
though.
saying
I mean, let's be honest though. The we both knew that the two players that we were going to pick at our flex were going to be 93 Woodson and 81 Ronnie Lott. It was just a matter of who takes who. And for
yeah.
me, I feel like I'm trying to surround myself around players. The thing I'm noticing with your team is you're just going essentially for as much like you're essentially doubling down on positives on your team so far. Like I don't as much as Deion Sanders 94 Deion Sanders one of the greatest cornerback seasons of all time. I don't feel like you took that pick out of the sake of oh the best player available at or I guess the best pick available, if you may, right?
No,
I
no.
think you took that more specifically as a checkmate pick against me because that was my pick originally. And the minute you took Deion Sanders, I felt like you were going to take 75 Blunt next. That's why I took him. Now,
Yeah, but see, the thing that you're missing though is 75 blunt doesn't help you. My case, Sanders helps me plenty. I think that's the thing that you missed. Now, I'll say this, like, look, none of these picks are bad at the end of the day. These
right,
guys are
right.
incredible people, but I just feel 75 blunt's not going to match up with the speed and also the level of quickness. That too, you got to understand. Blunt played in a different era. I don't know if we're going to relate to eras now and all of a sudden, but I don't know. I'm just gonna.
Well, the thing I feel is I would personally put for me Mel Blunt on Randy Moss, and the one thing about that is it's going to be tricky because yeah, he's going to get burnt like
Yeah,
crazy in that
easy.
game.
Yeah,
But
but
the
you
reason
know
I
what?
rely
I don't.
the
I
reason
don't
I
really.
rely on that is because more so what my pressure plan is. I want to be able to rely on Mel Blunt essentially being like what AJ Bouye was for the 2017 Jaguars, where rather than being a true lockdown cornerback in a sense, and I do think he was that year, more being reliant on his ball hawking skills. And that's what I want. Deion Sanders, or sorry, excuse me, Darrell Revis in '09. That's going to be the matchup. For me, it's '09 Revis versus '87 Rice. To me, that's the matchup I'm relying on as far as my success in this game. But, let's continue.
And also,
I think,
Yash, just to confirm.
sure.
Now, obviously, at the flex, Ronnie Lott was a cornerback in '81. Are we allowed to change the flex positions or not? I don't think we should, but I'm asking. Are
Well,
we?
flex can apply to any position
Any
if you want.
position, right?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. All
Yeah.
right.
Um, my next pick is a little tricky.
Yeah,
I
I think
want
so too.
to emphasize. Hmm. I want to emphasize a little bit more on the edge rushing position. But Akilesh did screw me a little bit with that Reggie White pick. That is kind of the tricky part about that.
Because I knew you wanted to go there, but at the same time, I'm trying to think of something interesting.
I want to see something real quick.
Hmm.
Now, where's that one stat? Ah, here we go. Hmm.
Hmm.
You know, if I wasn't taking the checkmate pick of Mel Blount, I would have actually taken one of the more underrated cornerback seasons of all time. It's from a player who, for the most part, was a pretty random player in his entire league,
Right.
with the exception of 1 year. Everyone who knows about the 1977 Atlanta Falcons knows that they were pretty much a no-name defense that
Yes.
produced the absolute hell out of that year. And unfortunately, nobody remembers them because their offense was absolute trash, right? But there was one player on that team who was an all-pro who had one of the best cornerback seasons of all time. That was Roland Lawrence. So I just want to shout him out. This man had 7 interceptions for 138 yards. Unfortunately, at 1977, there are not a lot of extra stats I can really provide for that. But a few different analytical sites made some references and made the argument that this man had a top three cornerback season of all time. The only cornerback season that were ranked higher were '09 Darrell Revis and '06 Champ Bailey, right? And '77 Roland Lawrence was right behind that as far as WAR, as far as his ability to be as valuable of a player as he was to a cornerback position. So I would have liked to get him, but that is unfortunate that I couldn't. I think though I am going to go with 1991 Pat Swilling. Very underrated player in my opinion. 17 sacks.
Very interesting pick. Very
Um,
interesting pick.
the reason I ended up going with Pat Swilling over here is because if there's one thing that strikes me about your offensive line, it does not have per se the best speed you could get available at that
No,
position.
that's
So to
fair. That's a
me,
good point.
if I'm not going to
That's a
get
good
that, I
point.
might as well go for someone matchup wise, especially with the size and strength and speed, athleticism that modern day Miles Garrett has compared to some of these guys. I would want to take someone who also gives me speed and physicality from that era. So to me, I'm going to take 91 Pat Swilling.
Um, that's an interesting pick. It wouldn't have been my pick, but it's an interesting pick. Mm,
This was more just me filling up a need as quickly as possible.
yeah. Now, one thing you mentioned to me, you took 75 blunt with this intention that I didn't want a physical corner, right, to stop a guy like Calvin Johnson. But the thing I think you're forgetting is that the most physical corner was not Mel Blunt.
Hmm.
Like, to be honest, right?
Right.
There was a guy who had the rookie interception record in his first year, just destroyed people for a living. And I mean,
Hmm.
he did that year after year. And this was the only time the Lions actually won championships, unbelievably. Give me Nitrate Lane as my second cornerback, and
Ooh.
let me
Actually,
get him. Let me get him. Let me get him. Uh, this is a little controversial, but I personally think this is the right decision. I don't have stats on tackles, but he was a huge tackler. Let me actually throw him at the strong safety position. I know he never played. Actually, no. Keep him at corner. Keep him at corner. Let him
okay.
play. Give me 54.
Are you sure not
I,
52?
I know 52. He had the interception record and all those things, but at
Yeah.
the same time, I'm looking at the stats here. I'm also looking like tackle wise, etc. Because I do want to consider that. Don't give me 53. Do I want 52 or 54? Because I have plenty of interceptions, right?
Right.
All around.
Either way you're gonna
Yeah,
get a ball hawker. That is
yeah.
there.
Let me get Nitrate Lane 54.
That is
Uh,
all. You know what? That is all fine and well. I think you missed up on as much as Night Train Lane got a lot of physicality. Both years as a cornerback, he was not really as good of a cornerback as he was of safety. And
but
to
that's
me,
fine. That's fine with me.
I
That's what
just
I'm trying to say. This entire defensive backs can be placed anywhere on the field.
right,
That's my
but here's
entire
the
thing.
thing: if you're playing with the offense that I have, with just
Mm-hmm.
receptions upon receptions upon receptions, might I remind you that my
Mm-hmm.
flex is 2021 Cooper Cup. I just don't
Exactly.
know how he's going to be able to stop coverages there. He is going to get
Yeah.
burnt several times unless he gets a
Why
corner.
do you think Nitrate Lane is playing coverage on Cooper Cup?
I'm just
Why do you
saying,
think?
any receiver that he plays on here, he's going to get
No,
burnt reception, especially yes.
no.
Oh yeah,
A very very simple concept, Yash. In order for a cornerback to be burnt, they have to be behind the receiver.
sure,
A very simple concept. If I don't allow the receiver to go in front of me, very simple. You look at Pat Surtain, film study. Easy, simple film study.
sure,
He jams them on the line, disrupts the flow, and that's why half the time we look at deep ball percentage that he covers, it's the highest, it's the lowest in the league that he's allowing on him. Simple because he's jamming the receivers on the line of scrimmage and not allowing them to get past. So he has one of the low over deep balls. Half the time he either misses the target or he's getting blocks on them because of one simple factor. He's not allowing for deep balls. So
I
I'm
think
okay
you're
with
ta- I
this.
think you're
Now,
forgetting though that the quarterback of this team that I have is
mm-hmm.
2007 Tom Brady. There
Which
is
is a
no
deep
not a
ball guy.
chance
Which is a
that
deep ball guy.
sure, but there's not
Deep
a
ball guy.
chance that he's going to throw behind a receiver that has a cornerback behind him. I mean, that whole year he never did.
What do
Not
you mean?
once. You're talking about Night Train Lane having to be behind the cornerback or behind the
The
receiver in
receiver.
order to
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
When did Tom Brady ever do that year? Name me one time.
Randy Moss, 24/7. When he got past the corner, he's throwing that ball deep
When
every
he got
single
when
time. Every
exactly
si-
when he got
and
past the corner.
that's where most of his production lied.
Sure, when he got past the corner. But
Right.
remember, there every single play we saw Randy Moss,
And that too. Let me say
Moss
this too.
over these players. Who is he going to
Okay.
be able to stop? If you're talking about Michael Thomas, who's a great vertical receiver, you got
Okay.
Calvin Johnson, who's a great vertical receiver, and
Okay.
Cooper Cup, who's
I
that
have Ed Reed.
specifically.
I have Ed Reed to cover. I have
So that's my
Nitrate
point, though. You're
Nitrate lanes
relying
on
on,
the inside.
but
So
that's my
what?
point. That's my point. You're relying on your safety, so that helps me a little bit. That does help me. That
I
help.
I don't really understand, but okay, I'll
Oh
allow it
shoot.
to pass because Michael Thomas is not going to go deep. He's gonna get quick receptions and try to move on, which is fine with me. Calvin Johnson's physical, but if I line him up with two cornerbacks, that's enough. So I don't know. I'm not too concerned.
Okay.
You go ahead though. You go ahead though. I don't mind.
My next pick, I'm just going to take a player that I need as far as production goes. Um, I was originally planning on taking Bruce Smith at one of these picks. I'm surprised neither of us has taken Bruce Smith at this point. But the reason I didn't take Bruce Smith was because Akelash has 88 Anthony Munoz on his team. And just as a reference, Bruce Smith is the all-time sack leader of all time in the history of the NFL. You know that he has only 15 pressures allowed on his entire career against Anthony Munoz, right? I think he has only 2 or 3 sacks in his entire career against Anthony Munoz over a 20-year span, which is ridiculous. So I just don't think that would be matchup wise the best play because clearly Anthony Munoz owned Bruce Smith his entire career. So to me, I'm going to take the guy who previously to Myles Garrett held the record for the most sacks in a season and a guy who's big enough to also play
It's
interior D
fine.
line.
That's fine,
Um,
honestly.
Someone who can get good penetration against Dallas Cowboys offensive lines and made Larry Allen struggle a lot through this year.
Fine with
I'm
me,
going to go
actually.
with 2001 Michael Strahan. And I'm going to take him as, for the time being, I'm going to take him as my interior D lineman, but we'll come back to that. We'll come back to
That's
that.
okay.
This is just kind of experimentation right now. So we'll come back to this.
All right. Now, one thing I'll say is, I asked before, can we have multiple, like, limit our number of linebackers, etc.? Because I think both of us know our linebackers in this case don't really matter. For you, it might matter more
Huh?
than me.
No?
For you, it might matter more than me. Because honestly, we're not looking at a guy who can tackle and be the most physical linebacker. We're looking at a coverage linebacker at the end of the day. I think that's what we're looking at least. Now, Yash mentioned something that I found quite interesting. He said, this whole thing about Nitrate Lane, he's not going to get past, la, 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 la. But he also mentioned another guy that had a lockdown season. Let me just look at some stats here. I think
Oh,
Yash
ooh.
mentioned this guy
Yeah, oh
already.
06 Champ Bailey.
Yash, yeah, exactly. Yash already mentioned this guy before. And you talk about some of the greatest seasons ever. Like, this guy was in there, right? So, you asked who's going to guard Cooper Cup. You did ask that.
Yeah.
You know,
I
you,
mean,
you did that.
he's one player who can.
You did ask that. You also asked who could guard uh,
That is an
Calvin
interesting,
Johnson.
but that is an interesting way of
Calvin
working
Johnson.
this team, though.
Nitrate Lane is going to be on the far. Nitrate Lane
Hmm.
can guard him up, and Edwards got him. He's got him backside. Michael Thomas is the least of my concern. Least of my concerns is Michael Thomas currently. I don't. I won't even care for a second about Michael Thomas because Dion's got him. I'm not worried at all. Rod Woodson's flying everywhere, anyways. So let me get '06. Let me add him as another corner. Add '06 Bailey into that lineup.
Where specifically on the cornerbacks?
Um, add him as another flex. Add him as another flex. No
Oh,
worries.
okay.
I mean, it doesn't matter. He'll probably also play corner, but my main idea behind this thing is I want it to be such that I'm taking care of Cup, but at the same time I'm going to take care of
Hmm.
Michael Thomas in because Michael Thomas is not running deep routes. He's going to be short receptions, move forward. He's like a trying to be Jerry Rice type deal in this case. So I know that's going to be the case here. If Brady's going to throw it deep, it's going to be to Calvin Johnson. So I'm not necessarily worried about that. He's also physical on the line of scrimmage. Um, Nitrate Lane's a big guy. The only thing that I am concerned about, if at all, is just the health of your squad. That's pretty much the only thing I'm concerned about. But that like after playing a matchup, I don't know if they're going to be getting up for game two. So
Well, it's only one matchup. It's like a Super Bowl matchup, so I'm good as long as I win it.
yeah, as long as you win it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I'll be honest. Looking at your squad, you mind me showing your squad once?
Yeah. Here.
The guy I'm most concerned about on your squad, believe it, I mean,
Revis is gonna definitely be my number one concern. I'm not concerned about your offensive line at all. Because the thing is, Miles Garrett, Aaron Donald. I'll give you that. Aaron Donald again. Since I have Jason Kelsey, I know that specific year he wasn't that guy or whatever. But again, I said it before. The key to centers is their connection with the guards. So I'm not concerned about Aaron Donald as much because Aaron Donald always dominated when it came to size and speed. He's got speed, but not necessarily. He's kind of got speed, not necessarily size.
True,
Not
but here
concerned about Strahan as much either, because Munoz has dominated any edge he's played against, and the edges that he didn't dominate, I have. So I'm not concerned about that too much. Garrett is definitely a concern. I'll give you that. Swilling again, I'm not too concerned about. The
Swilling, I
two
wouldn't be surprised if you're concerned. The only reason I'd be concerned about Swilling is from the standpoint of Anthony Munoz wasn't necessarily the fastest tackle out there, and
But that
Swilling is
doesn't
going to be
matter. That doesn't
true,
matter in this case.
true.
So
But
I'll give you this. The only player I'm majorly concerned about, two players I'll give you is Garrett and for obvious reasons, Revis in that specific season.
what,
Those are the only concerns I have.
what,
Outside of that, your safety, like Palomalo as your safety, I am not at all troubled with because I know I'm
really?
going to beat him through speed, which is not at all a problem for me. And I also have physical guys, so I'm not concerned about that either. So the only, again, the only thing I'm concerned about is Revis. And
I would be concerned of Troy Polamalu simply because of his versatility and the fact that he can match up again. For me, the reason why I think
he's
he's
not going to be able to match
important
up with
here.
any of the guys.
Well,
Like, being brutally honest.
that's why I got an ace up my sleeve. But
Mm.
let's wait on that for a sec. Um, I am conflicted as far as what you're doing now because I did not expect you to take '06 as a flex. I thought you'd take him as another cornerback.
I mean, doesn't matter. I can put Nitrate Lane as my flex, but this is what I'm thinking. I don't want to allow Cooper Cup to gain any yardage on me because he's your what do you call it? Uh, your weapon, if you will. Like to me, he's the weapon X. I'm not concerned as much about Calvin Johnson. Michael Thomas is my least of my concerns. 21 Cup is, I think, the what do you call it? Under the shadows was going to sneak up on you and kill you, if you will. So he's probably the biggest guy I have to take care of, and that's why I can put three corners, any of those three corners outside of lane, and I'll be good. So I needed to go with that. I had to do something.
So Akhilesh pointed out something about Polamalu that kind of intrigued me just now. And looking at doing a little bit of research, it got me thinking, but for that reason, I mean, he liked the idea of Ronnie Lott as a slot corner, but I want to be able to move him and Troy Polamalu around a lot of the field. That's part of what dictates what
That's
I
a
want to be able.
strong safety. Ronnie
Yeah,
Lott is a strong safety.
well, no, not just. Well, I wanted him to move around, so I want him to be strong
Okay,
safety, free safety, cornerback. He can do that too, right? As well as Polamalu.
that's fair. I'll give
I
you that.
want
Okay.
so for me, in order to do that, I need someone reliable on the back end who's both a great ball hawker and a great tackler, but also a very physical hard hitter, right? For me, the big focus as far as Polamalu here is yeah, Marshall Falk was faster, but I don't think he necessarily had the edge as far as taking a receiver always deep. If you're talking about a guy who's bigger than him, oftentimes he did have struggles against safeties who were bigger and just kind of pounding him up physically. The likes of someone like Lawyer Malloy in the Patriots game always comes to mention, or someone like John Lynch when we talk about the Rams playing the Buccaneers. Brian Dawkins. These are safeties that always gave him trouble, but I'm not going to go with any of them because I don't think that they necessarily had the best prime years. I
Yeah,
am going to go with another safety, however, and I'm going to move Troy Polamalu to be my second flex based on what Akilesh did.
I see. Okay, interesting.
Um, and I'm going to take 1984 Kenny Easley as my safety. Um, I'm going to take him for the reason being that Akilesh has Antonio Gates, who I'm still concerned about. And the reason I took Polamalu originally was because Polamalu really, really, really had a great time against Antonio Gates. Kenny Easley, I think, for similar reasons, gives me some of that against um, against the likes of Antonio Gates, and it provides me also with enough ball hawking down the way that I can be able to stop someone like Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice certainly had his troubles against Kenny Easley, and he never had to play against prime Kenny Easley, being that he was drafted in 1985. So I would like to see that matchup overall all time too. The big concern still is speed. I don't have someone necessarily to keep up with defensively.
That's what I was about to say. Ronnie Lott not Ronnie Lott was literally moved from corner to safety because he wasn't fast. Palomalu not
Yeah.
the fastest. Kenny Easily decent speed. Mel Blunt not the fastest. You're lacking a lot in speed.
Well,
That's where I'm gonna get you easily.
that's where I still feel you haven't picked up on one guy that I might take. Either way, um,
Again, I don't need speed as much as I need physicality. That's my case, right?
mhm.
I don't need speed as much as I need physicality. So again, safety position I'm not exactly concerned about because I have time to think about that.
You do.
Right? I could play a Steelers type defense though. I could go one safety. Right? I'm bending the rules a lot, but I can technically do that. I could go one true safety lineup. You know the one guy actually that I haven't addressed on your squad? Gronk. Gronk's the one guy I haven't addressed. So I need to be very smart with my next pick. I'm going to think about this one for a while because I'll let you know what I'm thinking about. I need a guy who's going to be physical on Gronk, right? But I also need a guy. See, I'll say the thing about Gronk that actually I think hinders your team. Gronk was extremely dominant on the blocking side of things. And Gronk had his best career when he was surrounded by unreliable receivers. You had Edelman, you had a Welker, Moss wasn't there when Gronk was at his best. Welker was there again, short, quick pass, which I'm covering with you bringing Cooper Kupp in. So Gronk's best asset is when he is the number one option. In this case, he's like the third or fourth option, realistically.
Right.
So do I want to give him much concern? And he's also going to be unreliable in the run game because you're going to use Jim Brown. All right, I have a guy in mind now. I don't think Josh thought about this for a single second. Not even gonna lie. Okay, actually, that helps me a lot now. Okay, so sorry guys, I'm doing some research as well. Just want to see something here. How tall is Fred Warner?
I think 6'2" or 6'3".
6'3", right?
Yeah.
Imagine a safety that height.
Yeah.
That would be crazy. He could
That would
play
be crazy.
linebacker and safety at the same time.
Yeah.
How about Ray Lewis? Ray Lewis probably like 6'3" as well? 6'2" maybe?
I think no, Ray Lewis was on the shorter side. He was 6 foot.
6 foot, right? And he
Yeah.
was dominant as a linebacker.
Yeah.
Same. Both of them were like probably what, 230 around there?
Ray Lewis was almost 250.
250. Warner's probably around like 230, 210.
230.
Imagine a guy who was 200 at 6'3", but could play safety and linebacker. That would be insane, bro.
Yeah.
That would be insane. Imagine that lineup. But he could also tackle crazy. He could also intercept crazy. That too, as the strong safety, that would be insane if that happened. That would be insane.
Okay, just get to it, Akilesh.
I mean, if that could happen, oh my god. Like, dude, that's some insane stuff. Insane stuff. It's a shame you can't get stats on tackles for these guys, though, you know?
This guy.
I wish there was. I wish there was.
This guy.
71 Ken Houston. Get me
Oh,
at
okay.
the strong safety
I'm good.
position.
I'm good. I'm good. I would need all I needed was one guy that you did not take. I'm
And I I
glad. I am
I
so
I,
glad.
I know where you want to go with this, but it's not going to help you.
Do you
Trust me.
think
Trust
so?
me.
Do you think
Trust me.
so? Okay,
Trust me.
let me
It
ask
will
you
not
this.
help.
What do you think I'm gonna do?
I personally believe you're going to add another corner.
No.
Not a corner, but defensive back.
No.
That's no. Oh, I
No.
thought you were going to go defensive back. Okay, I don't mind. I don't mind.
I'm gonna
I don't
go
mind.
with a player who can play cornerback if he wanted to. Could play nickelback. Not
Mm.
supposed to usually because unconventionally that is really, really weird for a player of this caliber to be playing that
Mm.
position. A guy who could play safety if he wanted to, was hard hitting, could play all over the field, right? A man who
Fine.
is so good that
So yeah,
prime
you are
Calvin,
going with defensive back. I
the,
said that.
a guy who is so good that prime Calvin Johnson had struggles against him, even though they didn't play
I
in the
know
same
exact.
position.
I said I called it. You're going with defensive back. I knew you were
Nope,
going with
nope. But at the same time, a guy who also gave prime Gronk
Cam
struggles.
Chancellor. Cam Chancellor.
Eh,
No, Earl
nope,
Thomas.
nope, neither. I'm gonna go with 2009 Patrick Willis. The
Oh
greatest
golly,
linebacker season of
jeez.
all time.
Oh golly,
A
jeez.
man,
That's what you wanted to do,
oh yeah, and
bro.
I'll tell you why.
Come on.
Patrick, you're talking about
Actually, you know what?
speed.
No, it's needed for you. It's needed for you.
Yeah,
I'll give you that. You had to wait. Hold up. Actually, no, that doesn't help you. I'll say
actually
this:
does.
coverage wise, Patrick Willis against Falk and Barry Sanders. That shifty Barry
No,
Sanders.
no, no, no,
Are
no.
are, are, we, are we really trying that?
Because here's the issue. I'm not having Patrick
I
Willis
don't know
guard.
that.
I'm not having Patrick Willis guard either of those two. Okay? I'm going to rely on the possibility that Aaron Donald, Miles Garrett, and Pat Swilling, who's a great run defender in 91. Okay? Those three get enough coverage to be able to stop the likes of Marshall Falk and Barry Sanders. More specifically, Barry Sanders and Marshall Falk, which is still going to be tough because it's Barry Sanders, of course.
You know what's
Um,
crazy about my offense?
what?
You know what's crazy about my offense? Barry Sanders and Marshall Falk are the reason are the least of your concerns.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
But
They're the
here's
least of your concerns.
exactly.
I don't think Patrick Willis was the right pick there. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
I think he's the
I don't
perfect
think
pick
so.
for me because he's the only person who I think could keep up with the speed and height of someone like Randy Moss and still be able to
I
cover him
I
while
don't
still
think so.
being able to help me as far as someone like Antonio Gates in the red zone.
I'm not sure speed is where he's gonna lie his best at, but
He's a 4-3-1. He's a 4-3-1 linebacker.
I'll give you that. But at the same time, it's not about the 40-yard dash that counts here. It's about literally 10-yard split that
10
counts
yard
here.
split. If you want to talk about a 10
So
yard split for a
I don't know.
linebacker, Patrick Willis had that compared to any linebacker ever.
I don't think he's gonna match up with my team. I'm just look. Patrick Willis is a great pick. I'm not gonna lie, he's a great pick, but I don't think he was the best pick for a linebacker. I honestly don't think you should be concerned about the linebacker position. You should be.
For
You
me,
should be.
I
You
needed.
should be. You
I'm
should
not
be.
too concerned, but for me, there's one linebacker I was going to pick for sure. It's Patrick Willis because I mean Ray Lewis,
You
as
needed
great
it.
as he is,
He's
right?
not the best coverage linebacker,
And he
but
didn't have the
at the
same
same
prime
time,
that Patrick Willis had.
at the
I think
well,
from
that I
no,
completely
no, no, no.
disagree with that. I
In the standpoint
completely
of the
disagree with that.
in the standpoint of like 1 year, I'm not talking like multiple
It's
years.
fair,
The
but
two best.
I'll say this. I'll say this. My only thing when it comes to this Patrick Willis decision is this. I think you should have gone with a more, not more physical. Honestly, you know what? No, I can't say
Yeah,
anything bad
I
about it.
don't think
I
you can
can't.
say that.
I can't say anything bad about it. But it's not like a huge boost. No, neither is it like a huge degrade on my team or your team. So I don't know. I feel both
A
ways.
guy who could
Now,
have a guy who had 5 sacks that year, who had what was it, 13 tackles for loss, 11 QB
I don't
hits.
think sacks should be your concern if you're
I'm
a
just
receiver.
saying, no, I'm just listing his stats right now. I'm just saying, I mean, he had 8 passes defended, he had an interception return for a touchdown, he had 3 interceptions,
Yeah.
he had a WAR as a linebacker of 5.4, which is the second highest by a linebacker in a single season, only to Ray Lewis
But
in 2000.
if your objective is
152
to is
tackles.
if your objective is to keep Patrick Willis as a means to limit Falk and
I'm just saying
that,
he could do it
I'm
all.
not sure that was the best thing.
I'm
But
just saying, with the
I don't mind.
versatility I have on this roster, I can really move any of these players anywhere I want and accordingly adapt.
Similar to
Yeah.
me. Yeah. You're trying to copy me, but hey, I'll allow it. I'll allow it. I'll allow it. It's a
The
compliment.
big thing is you still screwed me over as far as my pass rushing position, specifically taking JJ Watt in
Yeah,
14. That was the pick that really screwed me over. And 87 Reggie White is weird because a lot of the prime years, the thing about Reggie White is like if you look at like the list of the greatest prime years of players,
yeah,
half the list is Reggie White. Like Lawrence
yeah,
Taylor,
exactly.
you probably can find 2 or 3 years with him. Alan
And
Page, 2 or 3 years.
86 definitely.
Right. Reggie White basically his prime is basically half of his career, which is like 10 year span from 86 to 96. Which is like at that point you can't really pick any of these other guys if you know you're going to take someone like 87 White.
Mhm. You know what's interesting about your offense, Yash, and I personally believe this. Michael Thomas is your third option. Is your last option.
Yeah.
Gronk is your third. Cooper Cup is your second, and Calvin is your one. Which is
Mhm.
that's the interesting thing. So Michael Thomas is your last option. So I could put any corner on him, but if I go doubles on um you can hit it to Gronk. Yeah, but Gronk was more of a threat in the red zone area than he was anywhere else. So
The
see,
big thing
okay,
that the big thing that I think you're missing though is your second cornerback is Night Train Lane, who is a guy who is very much kind of
again,
like
I'm telling this to you again and again. It doesn't have to be. I can put Champ as my second corner, put Knight as my flex.
right, but here's the thing: you
I
want
don't mind.
Champ Bailey to be able to cover someone like Cooper Cup, right?
Yeah,
From
yeah,
that angle, if that's the case, you're definitely gonna have Night Train Lane either being on a zone on some shallow zone on
no,
Michael Thomas, or at the very least, if he's playing man to man, if I have a coverage and I just play, I mean, the whole thing about Michael Thomas that was so hard for players to guard is he was a cheat code when it came to slants. There was a reason his nickname was Michael Slants Thomas, right? So if I'm going just throwing slants, I cannot have a cornerback who's just playing a shallow coverage
right.
against
But imagine
edge.
you have a strong safety that can play a linebacker as well. That's
Mm.
what you have in Ken Houston.
But that's my
That's
question.
where.
If I'm throwing it and if I'm throwing with the chemistry between Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski to each other, are you
Mm.
gonna put emphasis on Ken Houston to drop down and play against Rob Gronkowski?
See, okay, if that's the idea. If you're gonna throw to Gronk, if I put Ken Houston 1v1 versus Gronk, I'm taking Ken Houston 60-40. I'm not giving a guarantee, but I am taking Ken Houston 60-40. Gronk is huge. I'll give you that. But Ken Houston was huge for a strong safety, and he's extremely versatile. So I'll take that. Now, your second option then will be to um, what's his name? If your second option will then be to Calvin Johnson, Ed Reed's over top. Nitrate Lane can try to stop him a little bit. I'll give you that. Nitrate Lane was not my best pick. I'll give you that. Right? He'll stop him kind of, and then Ed Reed's over there gonna be anyways as a ball hawking safety. He's gonna be up top. Then your next option is going to be for Cooper Cup. Dion's gonna have him down on the first go. Champ's gonna be right there on the second go, if need be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or we can even flip it like this. Champ's gonna be on him, even on the cover slant, right? You
Sure.
have Dion anyways on the outside on Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas is gonna be the last pick. That's gonna be obvious. If we allow yards on Michael Thomas, that's fine. That's fine. I'm okay with Michael Thomas having 100 yards while Calvin Johnson has 50 and Cooper Cup has 30.
Sure.
That's what I'm looking at. I don't care if Michael Thomas has a 300-yard game.
But see
I'm
that
looking at
the
I'm
thing
looking at
about that
that's what I'm looking at.
But see, the thing about that strategy is it works, it's effective unless as long as you don't get one of the two bigger targets I have, those being in the in the run game,
Hmm.
Jim Brown or LaDainian Tomlinson
That
in the
was
red
my
zone.
next thing to address. That was
Which,
my next
which
thing to
actually,
address.
I'll be honest, I think you addressed that pretty well with the likes of getting someone like 93 Rod Woodson, right? Um,
And Houston.
and
Houston can
yeah,
play inside.
and the fact that you have, I mean, you have two of the best run defenders of all time on your interior D line. I think you're good there, right? I think, but the other
And I'll say
concern
this
I
too. I'm not concerned about your running backs from a receiving standpoint, and that's not going to help you
sure,
either,
but
right? So
actually,
that's another thing.
sure,
LT kind of, but at 06 no.
but the big concern I think you should have still is 2011 Rob Gronkowski, specifically in the red zone, right?
Mm,
And
yeah.
that's where I'm saying I feel like you've backed yourself into a corner where you as much as you're saying the linebacker doesn't matter, I think you've put yourself in a position where your linebacker choice is going to matter a lot
Yeah,
and is going to dictate
you're right.
how your team shapes up against mine.
You're right. Actually, I'll be honest. Patrick Willis on my squad would have fit 1,000 times
Yeah, it would
better
have
than it
been
does fit on your
perfect.
squad.
Right.
Mm.
But I do
But
think
again,
it still fit. I mean, Patrick Willis is going to fit on either of our defenses really, really well.
but he fits much better on mine. That's
Sure.
what I'm trying to. But yeah. So the only thing you have left is your free safety. Free safety, I'm not concerned who
Well,
over your
no, I
opponent.
mean, if I wanted to, I could essentially neglect the free safety position and just kind of go with like a
Which
three defensive back and then kind of get a third edge rusher.
which
That's
is which is what I did. Which is what I did. But in this case, I do have to worry about. I'll tell you off the bat, I'm not taking Ray Lewis off the bat, right? Because Ray Lewis was not the best coverage linebacker, and that's what I need. I need a coverage linebacker at this point.
hmm.
See, if you're talking about coverage linebackers, Jack Ham is the best coverage linebacker ever,
Right.
arguably, right? But at the same time, Jack Ham was actually no very good. Jack Ham actually might be a good pick.
I feel like I unintentionally checkmated you with the Patrick Willis pick.
Yeah, but I'm not too concerned about that, honestly. I'm really not. Oh my god. How did I forget this guy? Wait, this just. Oh, good golly, jeez. This actually could just shape my entire team right now. Ooh.
That is going to be a meme someday. What the way I kill edge.
This could work out. I gotta be, but every single time I say this, for some reason, it just act like it's a normal day. So I gotta be careful where I go with this. I think this team specifically was a very surprising team. I don't think people predicted this team would be anywhere.
Hmm.
This could. Hmm. 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 Wow. I'm actually surprised none of us even thought of this guy. I don't know if you thought of him, but I didn't certainly think of him. Very interesting. 2015 Luke Kuechly. I'll take him as my
I did
linebacker.
consider him. I did consider him if I
I'll
was
take
taking
him.
a second linebacker.
I'll take Luke Kuechly here. And to be honest, that's a sleeper pick. I feel
It
because
is.
if I think about Luke Kuechly, he's 6'3". Ken Houston is 6'3". Ken
Yeah.
Houston's around 200. This guy's 240. You literally have. I only have two linebackers and one guy who can play. Oh my good golly, jeez!
And if there's one guy who is really good at guarding someone like Rob Gronkowski, Luke Kuechly would be that.
Yeah.
The one concern I had is
Oh, dude, I got it.
the main
That's it.
the main
That
concern
completes
I
it.
still do have is the fact that you only have one linebacker. And the big concern I had about Luke Kuechly throughout his career was
Injury
always
prone. That's fair.
well, not just injury prone, but I think the bigger issue to me is the fact that he wasn't as good without Thomas Davis in the red zone specifically as far as covering players. He was more just kind of
That's
like,
fair.
yeah.
But
So
at the same time, I'll tell you this: Ken Houston offers him a multitude of options,
right.
and that too. I'll say this: Luke Kuechly. If that's the argument, Thomas Davis, that's 1 year. After that, he was still
Well,
a solid
we
player.
are still
So
picking off of 1 year play though, but I
yeah,
get
but
your point. It's probably the
I
best pick you could have made, actually, if I'm being honest.
yeah, I think I think that completes my. Wait, how many players do I have?
You have
Four.
11.
I have 11. So yeah, that completes it. So now it's up to you, and I think I've guarded you in every single possible way. So let's see how you do it.
Well, okay,
I think with the Luke Kuechly pick, I've got Gronk, and I've also got Cooper Cup. I'll also say that.
so for the most
So
part, let me just give my plan because at this point it doesn't matter. Killer's
yeah,
not going to make another defensive pick, right? So I'm thinking between one of a few guys. The first one is just pure pass rushing, and he's probably not the pick I'm going to take, but it's Al Baker from 1978. The guy who has the unofficial sack record. He has 23 sacks in his rookie year, mind you, nonetheless, which is really, really impressive. But he wasn't really much more than someone who didn't get double teamed a lot and just took advantage of it a lot. Great sack artist throughout his career, and he did get double teamed more as his career went on. But this specific year, I don't think was per se the best defensive year of all time. Same reason for someone like Mark Gastineau, who was widely regarded as a very selfish player because of a lot of things. I was thinking of Chris Dolman because he's a better run defender, but I don't think that Chris Dolman was per se the most valuable player, and I don't think that would necessarily work if I'm trying to figure out some different defensive coverages on the D line against guys like Larry Page who can pretty much stunt to wherever they want. I was thinking Joe Klecko, very traditional D line, so I
Mm.
just don't think that would have worked. Um, the guys I'm really considering though on the D line specifically are 1968 Deacon Jones, right?
Yeah, that's the guy I was
Revolutionary.
considering.
I just don't think that he would be the best fit for this team, given where I want to go. I was thinking 1992 Clyde Simmons, who I'm really considering,
Mm.
right? To me, he's one of the most valuable defensive linemen ever in a specific year from 91 to 92.
I'll
Either of those
say
3 years.
this. I'll say this. I'll say this. You're you're trying to think of an edge player, and I'll just say this. And
No, no, I'm just
my
going through the list right now. These are multiple positions.
I know you want to address your defensive lineman, but I'm gonna say this, and I personally think this is it. I feel personally you should focus on the safety position.
I'm thinking that. Let's get to that.
That's what
Let's
I'm
get to
saying.
that. But for now, I mean, one of the big players I'm really considering right now is definitely for sure Clyde Simmons. Also, 2021 TJ Watt, right? From a run defender perspective and as a pass rusher.
Well,
Also,
that actually could work. Yeah, that's a
yeah.
good point. That's a good point.
So to me, the two players on the D line for sure I'm considering are those two: 1992 Clyde Simmons and 2021 TJ Watt.
Clyde
Um,
Simmons. Okay.
Clyde Simmons, great run defender that year, and I think is probably one. I would argue is a top five defensive line prime ever as far as just one single year goes. Now, as far as other players go, I'm looking at all time safeties, and this is where I am a little conflicted. I was thinking potentially. I was thinking potentially 1953 Jack Christensen had 12 interceptions, very good coverage wise, was a huge threat in the likes of what we saw later on from the likes of Deion Sanders. If we're talking about a 50s player, I just don't think he would really fit well against what you have put offensively. While I'm on it, I'm looking at the all-time list, and I should remind people to forget we talk about Sammy Ball as an all-time cornerback player. There's a season where he had 11 interceptions as a defender.
Mm,
It like I remember a few years ago, people were comparing Shohei Ohtani to what it would be like if Patrick Mahomes was also the league leader in interceptions. Sammy
yeah.
Baugh was that in the 40s. And I know it's the 40s, but still, that is really, really impressive to think about.
Mm.
So credit to him. Shout out to Sammy Baugh. 1964 Paul Krause is a player I was definitely picking, but the issue with Paul Krause is he was never necessarily the fastest player.
Mm.
The other guy I was picking, and I was thinking of just moving him to a free safety, and I want to look at his interception numbers just so I got an idea.
Are we allowing moving?
Yeah, we are.
I thought we weren't. That's why you had 81 running log stuck at your flex,
No,
right?
no, we moved. We had moved on the offensive side of the ball too. Remember?
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, I was thinking Daryl Green just purely based on his speed, right, and playing a bit of free safety, but that just I just don't seem like that would be the best idea.
I personally believe you kind of screwed yourself with your defensive line.
No,
You focused a lot on the defensive backs that you haven't chosen the best players on your defensive line. Is what I think. Is what I think.
I don't know. I still feel like I'm fine. as far as my defensive
Because
backs go.
you have big guys, but I'm not sure you have the most athletic people, and you need athleticism against Mahomes more than anything else on the defensive line. That's what I think.
Right. Well, I mean, if we're talking off, defensive line, I mean, I would pick Clyde Simmons as my interior D line. More, I'm concerned. Like Mahomes, the thing is, one way or another, Mahomes, whether he has a good or bad offensive line, he's going to do something crazy, right? So I'm
Yeah,
not, I'm
true.
not really concerned about that.
I
That's
mean,
why I
at
pick.
the end of the day, we pick our defense. At least I'm picking my defense to limit your offense as much as
Right,
possible.
exactly. And
That's
same with
all.
me. And for
I'm
that
not trying
reason,
to.
well, that's why I pick guys like Kenny Easley, Ronnie Lott, and Troy Polamalu because they can fly around the field and make my defense as versatile as possible. So that if Mahomes decides, you know what, I'm going to throw this behind the back pass to Jerry Rice, or I'm going to find Marshall Falk somewhere down the field, at least I got some sort of insurance policy for that.
Mm,
This, mind you, this is not advertised by Farmers Insurance or State Farm. So if you guys are gonna try to get advertisements with us, please move away. Um, the only type of person from Farmers Insurance I want to see is J.K. Simmons in Spider-Man or Whiplash. Um, I know in this
okay.
specific instance, he'd tell me that, like you said, that the speed of this, the speed of my defense is not quite his tempo, and then he'd probably slap me across the face. But we'll deal with that on a different day. Um, I think I'm going to go with. I actually think I'm going to double down on my defense, and I'm going to move Michael Strahan to my edge rushing position. I'm going to go with Clyde Simmons in 1992. I need an extra. I need an extra insurance policy against the likes. Actually, you know what? Yeah, you know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to go with 1992 Clyde Simmons. I'm going to go with. I need someone who can give me an insurance policy that Mahomes can't get out, that he just cannot. And I think that with the run defense policy, I haven't addressed yet at all, really, 1997 Barry Sanders. And I mean, 97 Barry Sanders, there's nobody who could really stop him. But if there's anybody in his career who gave Barry Sanders fits, was that Philadelphia Eagles defense from the early 1990s. So to me, I would take definitely one of the better players on the team. If you took 87 Reggie White, I might as well take his teammate, a guy who in himself took a lot of double teams. To me, that would be Clyde Simmons.
Yes, I'm sorry. I think that's just the wrong pick. I really do. Because think about the Niners and the Super Bowls. Niners had great pass rush. Every single series they had an incredible pass rush. But the Tyreek Hill cats in 19, every single play that came down to the ball, it was the free safety that got beat. Right now, your best safety position, Kenny easily and Troy Polamalu are strong safeties. They can't get back deep and they can't be reliable deep. Ronnie Lott's your one guy, and he's not fast. Like I'm a little mad that you actually went this route.
That's
Because
all.
right now, look, another guy you didn't address,
Mm.
Antonio Brown, deep route. Another guy you didn't address, Randy Moss, deep route. Like I don't know, man.
That's all. Look, that's all fine and well. But
I don't think so.
the big
Like
concern.
and the
Here's
other
the difference, though. I would add with that Niners defense in both 2019 and 2023.
mm,
23 we just did not have a like number one pure corner. In 19 we had Richard Sherman, but Richard Sherman has never been per se the fastest cornerback, and this was
Richard
old
Sherman on the
Richard Sherman.
Niners was not good. Yeah,
No, in 19 he was
he
very
was
good.
okay. He was okay. He was
No, he
not.
was no.
He was in 13. He was in
Yeah.
13
I'm not saying he's
Seahawks. That's what I'm
13.
saying.
Yeah,
Not his best version.
well,
Not his
obviously,
best version.
but I mean, he was still one of the best cornerbacks in the league in 19, right? He had a career renaissance, but he was not going to stop Tyreek Hill because Tyreek Hill is a 4.29 speed receiver. The one guy who is on your team, a 4.2 speed receiver, is Randy Moss. So to me, I actually have more concern towards Randy Moss than I do 87 Jerry Rice, believe it or not, because I do think that at the very least I could zone out, stop like in the way you said about Michael Thomas and him getting yards upon yards upon yards. As long as Jerry Rice does not get into the end zone, which I mean, granted, you picked 87 Rice, so that's going to be very difficult. But as long as Rice does not get in the end zone, I'm honestly fine with that. To me, the big concern is just what type of read Mahomes is going to go at, right? How long Mahomes is going to stay in the pocket. And you gave me the one weakness on your offense. To me, the one weakness is your offensive line, believe it or not. So to me, I got to take full advantage of that. So that's where
I'll tell
my
you
game
this.
plan is
I'll
at.
tell you this. You're right. The one weakness on my offense is, I guess, my offensive line. But I'll tell you this: prioritizing inside defensive linemen in my offensive line is the wrong way to go. Is the wrong way to go. Because against Mahomes, Mahomes is the most lethal when you let him go outside. You can pressure inside all you want. You let him go outside, and if you're relying on Swilling and
Well,
Strahan
I'm glad you mentioned that.
to be the guys,
I'm glad you mentioned that.
I don't know.
That's why I like Pat Swilling and that's why I like Miles Garrett. The one thing that Mahomes has struggled against in his career are speed rushers, right? Guys who can get around the edge pretty quickly and be able to stop that. Guys like Josh Sweat, Trey Hendrickson, guys who the minute that they get out from that defensive line, Micah Parsons, the minute that they get out, they're going to sack him, right? Um,
That's because half the time the routes that are run are so deep. When it comes to my case, that doesn't have to be. Rice is inside. You look at Antonio Gates. Antonio Gates is inside. Look at Antonio Brown for that matter. Brown can
that's
go
fair.
either which ways. Brown is inside. Randy Moss is your deep threat. I'll give you that. But overall, Mahomes is gonna have quick answers everywhere. And if I'm not mistaken, I still do have Marshall Faulk, who's my next option. So I personally feel you should have gone free safety. I'm a little mad for some reason that you didn't go, but either which ways, I think we've picked a squad fit. Yeah, it's going to be a close game either which ways.
Yeah.
I think just for time's sake, what we can do is we can maybe choose defense coordinator, offense coordinator, and a head coach, and then we'll complete our teams. I'll say this off the bat, regardless of, I don't think our offense coordinator, defense coordinator matters too much.
No,
Our
not
head coach
really.
doesn't. Our head coach doesn't matter too much either. I'll be honest, because I don't think we want a head coach that necessarily is going to be a strategic guy. I think that's our coordinators. But
Yeah.
I'll say this: it's going to be a close game. Either it's going to be 14-13 type game, or it's going to be 27-24 type game. I'll be honest. It'll be very close either which ways.
The way these rosters are constructed, they remind me of the 14 Super Bowl, honestly, to be fair with you, as far as the matchups go between the Seahawks and the Patriots.
Mm,
Um, so I either way, I think it's like Akila said, it's going to be a close game.
yeah.
Um,
What about coin?
one thing I should note is if we're talking about like all-time players, if we were just doing an all-time list, I do think Akilesh has me beat any day of the week. I do personally believe that if we're just talking, forget matchups, just prime years, I do think I have the better roster than Akilesh.
I think
Uh,
offensively, I have a much better roster. Because, okay, naming wise and just separately looking at your individual prime years,
yeah.
yes, you have me beat.
Well,
But
that's what I'm
I'm
saying.
I'm,
Yeah.
I'm creating a team.
Right.
So
Right.
with
Right.
those individual years and as a team together, I have him beat. But I'll say individually, if you're giving me names and a list,
Right. Right.
you
That's what I'm
have me.
saying. No, actually,
But
no. I
I
think if
would
we're
say
just
that.
well, that's what I'm saying. Forget the matchups for a sec. I'm just saying like forget the play. All I'm saying is just if we're looking at these two teams from just like a list of names, you have me beat as far as all-time players. I got you beat from the standpoint of like your like players in a specific year. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. As a list per year, you may have got me beat. But as a
Mm.
team, and the
Right.
way I'm functioning as a
I think
team,
you and I are
I
saying the
have you
same
beat.
thing. I think you and I are saying the same thing.
I
Yeah.
think I think what you're saying is like all time players as a list, you're better than me.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
saying
I'm saying you're
as a
better than me.
no, yeah, exactly. I'm saying as a team, the way we function as a whole, these specific players together is going to be better off.
Right. Right.
Then
That. Yeah. Yeah, I
I
agree
think
with
as a
that.
but I'll give you that. Yours wise, you might have me slightly. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
All right, for coaches, you want to do coin toss?
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right, you can go and pick this time because I picked I think defense. I think
I think I picked last time, so it's your turn.
again.
Yeah, no, you picked the coin flip, right? I mean that's how the NFL
All
does it.
right, I'll go tails.
It's
All
heads.
right, it is heads. All right, so you have first pick.
I'm actually gonna defer this. I'm gonna let you pick.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So it doesn't matter too much, but I think everybody knows my pick. I do have to kind of get this out the way because I'm looking for a very exciting new. Are we doing years for coaches? That's also
You,
interesting.
let's do it. Let's do it.
I mean, for this guy, I don't know. I don't know what year to pick because he was dominant almost always. Um, when was his best years? Hmm. I'm gonna go Bill Belichick as my defensive coordinator. I think that's an easy pick. Um,
Damn it.
See, I
God
told
damn
you,
it.
I told you you shouldn't defer.
That's
I
fine,
th-
actually.
but
Yeah, it's fine.
I mean, look, he has Ed Reed. He has. I mean, he can use people anywhere he wants to. Honestly, I kind of created his favorite roster, so Bill Belichick's gonna be my defensive coordinator. And he's the one guy who knows Brady better than anybody else. So I'll add that also. Um, but he was also the only guy to stop Calvin Johnson. That's another thing.
Yeah.
He knows Gronk better than anybody else. He also knows players like Cooper Cup the best because of his experience with Julian Edelman, Wes Welker, etc. So I'm gonna take Bill Belichick. Do you want a specific year out of Belichick?
Let's
You
do
want to
it.
do that?
Yeah.
All right, I gotta think about this then.
Because
What was
you could pick him both as a defensive coordinator and a head coach in this specific instance.
I don't want to pick him as a head coach. I think as a head coach, he will hinder the success of the squad. Is what I think.
Oh, in that case, honestly, I might that helps me a little. I mean, in the standpoint, the only guy at that point that I'm concerned about how you're going to use him is Lawrence Taylor in '86, which, I mean, I'm screwed either way. But yeah,
I think, actually, interestingly enough, I think you should be more concerned about how I use my defensive backs.
I don't
I
think
think
I'll be honest. I don't think if you're talking about defensive coordinator Belichick, specifically with the Giants, who I'm assuming you're taking, I don't think he learned how to use defensive backs as well as he did with the Patriots compared to the Giants, to be honest.
I'm not gonna wait. Okay, this is what I'm saying though. If I take a Patriots year, but I still have him as a defense coordinator, is that allowed? Or
Yeah,
it
yeah,
needs to be when he was yeah, that's fine, right?
yeah.
Okay.
It just has to be a year where he was the primary defensive play caller.
I
That's
will
the only
say
rule.
this. I will say this. I actually disagree with Yash because if you remember 1990, their defensive line was not that great. Their linebacker core was not that great. It was their defensive backs that led them to the Super Bowl. So I disagree with Yash in the sense that the defensive backs weren't as important. So
I didn't say they were as important. I just don't think Belichick was as well versed as far as using them as he was when he was with the Patriots.
where do I want to go? Where do I want to go? Uh, 07 was good. 07 was really good. 03 was really good. 04 was quite good. Oh my god, yeah. Nasty. You know what? I'm gonna go 1990 Giants. I like that pick. He used the defensive backs the smartest that year. He used his team the smartest that year, and he didn't necessarily have the best players ever. But that's your side.
If when you
No, no,
said that you were
Yash,
going to take,
Yash. Belichick
oh,
is
that's
on
yeah, that
yours. Yes.
yes, thank you. Oh well, I mean, if you were going to pick him any year as a defensive coordinator specifically, yeah, I mean, I think 90 is probably the best bet. Um, it still sucks because I
I,
can't pick Belichick twice, so I can't take him.
yeah.
I was actually planning on taking him as my head coach, for the reason being that he has knowledge
Experience
on
with
both sides
Brady.
of
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, you know, the one thing that for now, I mean, you got Belichick. There's one specific coach who gave Belichick problems throughout his career with the Patriots, especially. There's a
Mm-hmm.
player coach who against Tom Brady, I think he was 7-2 as a coach against Tom Brady. Very impressive record. And they put offensive numbers on this team, and this guy was dominant. And this guy has a West Coast offense that was known for distributing the ball as much as
Mm-hmm.
possible, and especially against the defense that Akilesh has. I want to be able to distribute. He's very familiar with one specific receiver who I think matchup wise is going to give Night Train Lane a problem. I think he was very good as far as being able to utilize deep ball threats. So if there's one coach who I trust in this era to be able to help myself against the likes of who I think is your biggest weapon on the defense, which is 04 Ed Reed, it's this coach, especially with the deep ball threat that Tom Brady was in 2007.
Mm,
To me, I'm going to go with 2011 Sean Payton as my offensive coordinator.
yeah, again, that's a good pick. That's a good pick. Um, all right. Well, since I have that nailed, when it comes to Mahomes, I mean, the obvious pick is to go with a guy like ADB, just a guy that's been familiar with him. But at the same time, I feel there's a little bit more to the mystery. Um, with Mahomes, the thing with Mahomes is he's great, especially when it comes to um, being able to misjudge, etc. I, offensive coordinators. I'll be honest. A guy like Bill Walsh may not be the best
Yeah,
because it's not a Montana type of player, right? Although there is 87 Jerry Rice, that's fair, but still,
yeah,
I don't think that's the best fit for him. I think offensive coordinator, I have to go with a guy that's more current, that's more modern. I think that fits the scope of the team better than an all-time team. I'll be
I do
honest.
agree. I honestly very much agree with that.
Um, I'm trying to think.
Actually, this pick, if Akilash picks the wrong pick, it might help me a little bit more defensively too, because of my where I lack in certain areas. I want to see who he picks here, especially now that he's saying more modern.
Yeah,
Because there is one guy who I'm thinking of that could give my team problems.
I'm gonna go Sean McVay. That's my offensive coordinator.
Okay, actually, I'm glad with that. I'm good. What
Um,
year?
hmm. Mm, give me last season. Give me last season. Give me last season. I think that give me the season where Cooper Cup rather had that statistically insane
Sean
season.
McVay.
Yeah,
Actually, you know what? I'm glad with
I like
that.
that.
That's I don't think that was the best Rams year offensively. I think they were relying, like I said, on star power, specifically on the chemistry between Matthew Stafford and and
Actually, scratch that. Give me last season. You're right. Give me last
no,
season.
actually that's even better.
Give me last season.
To me,
Because
I think
the
the
reason why I'm going last season is simply because of this. Last season was the first time that he used running backs very smart, in a
that is
very
fair.
smart fashion.
That
And
is
so
fair.
I think that's what's going to allow me to expand my offense more. So last year was an experimentation and he used it quite well. Was it to its full maximum potential? No. But I think this coming season will show that a lot. So I like Sean McVay. I'm interested in where you see where you go defensively. I'm not concerned though. I'll be honest.
Akhilesh, if I'm being honest with you, I think you kind of failed with that pick a little bit because I think that there were better options on the table, especially if you're going modern wise. With Sean McVay itself, I would have personally picked 2018 Sean McVay. To me, I think that was the best offensive year that he had, being able to utilize a running back like the likes of Todd Gurley, maybe not in the postseason,
Mm-hmm.
right? But you pair that alongside with the versatility that I have on my defense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Having a weapon like Barry Sanders, Sean McVay in 2018, I think would have better utilized him than
That's
2025
that's a
Sean
good
McVay.
point. That's a good point. That's a
Um,
good point.
I also
But at
think
the
that
same time, he also didn't emphasize too much on the reason why I personally picked 25 was because I find 25 a type of offense that fits Mahomes the best over
actually
18. The reason why I say no to 18 is because 18 you had a much more stiff. much
That's
more
fair.
predictable quarterback in Jared Goff, and the system fit that perfectly. With unpredictability, I like 25 more. Now, I will say this: the reason why I picked Sean McVay is because yes, he's not worked with a guy like Mahomes, but nobody has ever.
Andy
But
Reid. I'm surprised
yeah,
you didn't pick
exactly,
Andy Reid. 22 Andy
exactly,
Reid.
exactly. The reason why I'm not going with Andy Reid just as yet is because
Oh, okay, I see.
Andy Reid as an offensive coordinator has stumbled a lot. And
That's
the
fair.
best years that he's had is when he's had a reliable offensive coordinator. So I don't know. I like Sean McVay more as my offensive coordinator, a guy that Mahomes can really rely on. So I'll leave it at that.
So for my next pick, I'm gonna go with my head coach. Um, I need a guy who got the most out of every player that he developed. It was a good guy who, I mean, we have all the better prime players. So if I can get the most out of those players, even more so, especially with the
Yeah.
fact that they're all time, some of these guys are worse players than the likes of what Akhilesh has on his roster. If I can get even more out of them and make them even better, I need one head coach who's that. And on top of that is a very, very, very acclaimed defensive um, resume if we're
Mm.
talking as both a defensive coordinator and a head coach, someone who can get the most, especially out of the defensive line, someone who coached something called the original fearsome foursome, not the one by the Rams, because we don't talk about the Rams here. Achilles is a Chargers fan, so he should know about this coach a lot. He's also a big fan of this head coach. He also coached the Baltimore Colts and then the Pittsburgh Steelers. Afterwards, I do want to figure out though which year I want him because that will decide accordingly. Um, I think I'm gonna go 1978 Chuck Noll. And the reason
Very
being, I
good
mean,
pick.
any year from 76 to 78, I think would work well. But the reason I'm going 78 Chuck Noll is because I think that was the best year he was able to develop the defensive line. I think that was the best year he got most out of the offensive and defensive positions. And I need that from a developmental perspective. I think him pairing alongside Sean Payton works really well for me personally, especially now that you got 90 Belichick. So I'm going to go with 78 Chuck Noll.
I'll be honest. For my head coach, I need a guy who can cooperate with personalities. Because that's what I have. I have a guy like Randy Moss. I have a guy like Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
Defensively, I have guys that Belichick has worked with that is a personalities, but at the same time, people who respect Belichick. Sean McVay also, but I need a head coach who allows his guys to be the best. So guys like I'll be honest, Vince Lombardi, Tom Landry, um, you know, Chuck Noll, those guys would have been the worst picks as a head coach for me
Yeah.
because they would have not interacted well at all with these guys, right?
Especially
Uh,
Antonio Brown.
and especially Antonio Brown. Exactly, exactly. So I need a guy who's familiar with all these antics, right? And has been honestly quite successful with even with those antics. Um, I mean, you mentioned him before, but I really do think he's the perfect guy for this. I'm going to go 22 Andy Reid as the head coach.
Okay.
I think he's honestly the perfect fit because you have a guy like Sean McVay who is perfect in terms of an offensive production. McVay also is quite respected in his own right in terms of people and players. I don't know if I've heard many people complain
Not really. The
About
only
Sean
guy I can
McVay.
think of off the top of my head that complained about Sean McVay was Deshaun Jackson.
Right, and
He got
Deshaun
cut,
Jackson
yeah.
was he was near the end of his career too at that time.
Yeah.
So that's fair. But Andy Reid, he's had to deal with a lot of personalities. Travis Kelsey is a personality. You think about Terrell Owens, that was another personality. He's had to deal with them throughout, and he's been successful throughout. And you also know his relationship with Patrick Mahomes is unlike, I mean, you're talking about a top five quarterback coach duo ever. So
Yeah.
I think I like. Yeah, I think honestly, I'm very comfortable with my score. Now I'll give you this on paper, year to year
I still have to pick my
basis.
defensive coordinator.
Oh, my bad. Go ahead.
Yeah. Um, Let me see. I want to do a couple of things of research here real quick. With my defense. I need someone who is very good at being able to move around pieces, but also emphasize the defensive line. I do have 78 Chuck Nolan, that helps. But I want to check something about this one team before I make my pick. Let's see. Now if I can find... There we go. Yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to go with 1985 Bud Ryan.
Oh, that helps me so much.
And the reason I'm going
That
with him,
helps so much. Oh, come on,
and the reason
guys.
I'm going with Bud Ryan specifically, but Buddy Ryan, is because I think his ability to be able to move around a lot of players, especially in the front seven, and especially on the defensive backside, around with that defense. I think that helps me with still being able to emphasize some sort of physicality on a player like Patrick Mahomes. I'm still worried about that.
That that was not the right pick. I'll explain why very simply. Patrick, in order for the 85 Bear system to work, your middle linebacker has to be of a very specific type. Like Mike Singletary, that's it. There's no other linebacker that fits that system. When it comes to Patrick Willis, he's not the Mike Singletary that you need, right?
Right.
All Mike Singletary needed to do. It's not. I'm not. Okay, let me not say it like that because that makes it sound like it was very simple. No, but the thing about the 85 Bears was pressure, pressure, pressure. And now I know you wanted to address that with
Yeah.
Mahomes, but the thing that you're missing is this. You need to have a free safety on the back line in order for this thing to work. If
So
you
who do you
don't,
have
it's not
picked?
going to work.
Who do you have picked then?
On your system specifically, I would have gone with a guy that allowed. You know what I would have gone with? Now I know it's unconventional. 94 Nick Saban would have been the
Oh,
perfect guy for
I
your
don't
system.
know.
Would have been the perfect guy. I'll explain very simply why. Maneuvering, if you're looking at maneuvering pieces, allowing for versatility, Nick Saban is the perfect fit. Perfect fit. You messed up. You messed up with
Actually,
that
you know
one for
the other
sure.
guy I was considering, and I should have taken him, was 2013 Pete Carroll, being able to coach over the Legion of Boom. The big issue
Okay,
was,
I'll say this.
yeah,
I'll say this. If you're going defensive coordinator, no, because Pete
yeah,
Carroll
exactly, yeah, yeah,
is not a defensive coordinator.
right.
So,
So
uh,
who
you,
would that have been? That would have been Dan Quinn then, 13 Dan Quinn.
yeah, Dan Quinn would have been a much better pick because you're going with modern players. Aaron Donald, Miles Garrett. That would have been a perfect
Can
fit.
I be honest? Can I change that? Honestly, looking back now, I want to change that because I
I
do have
mean,
Chuck Noll.
that's fair, but at the same time, like we
Yeah.
could have also wanted to change it. You know what? I
Huh.
let's
Yeah,
flip a coin to it. Let's
I
flip a
was
coin
scared.
to it.
Yeah, let's flip a coin.
Let's flip a coin to it.
All right, I'll call heads.
You're allowed to change it. I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
All right.
2013, 2013. I saved you on that one. Let's be honest.
Yeah, you did. I honestly, I wasn't even thinking about the 13 Seahawks for a sec, and now I thought about it. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah, you know what? That might be better.
I still would pick 94 Saban because he would allow you to have much more versatility. But Dan Quinn, you can't
Yeah.
argue with that as well. Can't argue with
Best
that. Although
secondary
I will say this, Dan Quinn was a lot more hit focused under the nose. And the thing that you miss again
is
is the fact
speed.
that you don't have
Yeah.
a free safety.
Yeah.
Dan Quinn relied heavily on Earl Thomas being that free safety.
You know
So
what though? I'll be honest.
I called it from the beginning. The mistake that you made is not having a free safety.
You know what? I'll be honest though. I'm fine with keeping Ken Easley as just like a backline strong slash free safety when I have someone like Ronnie Lott and Troy Palmer. So I don't think that's
That's
as big of an
fair,
issue.
but if you're going flex,
But let's be honest. Here's the one issue that comes when it comes to drafting a free safety. I don't think that outside of pretty much the whole free safety prime position, if you look at the top players on the list, it's just Ed Reed, Ed Reed, Ed Reed, Ed Reed, Ed Reed. So the
yeah.
minute you picked Ed Reed, I knew I was screwed at that position.
You
So
know
as
who I'd
far
have
as
picked? You know who I'd have picked? And I know I'm gonna sound crazy for this. Emlyn Tunnell. I
I
really
no,
would
you
have.
know what? I considered him. I did consider him for a good minute. I just couldn't find a year where I felt like he was that much dominant where it would have affected your offense that much. So I just didn't want to waste a pick on
See,
that.
because right now, you know what you lack? You have guys that can defend, but you don't have guys who can make turnovers.
Yeah.
That's what you lack a lot on the
No, no,
squad.
no, no, no. I disagree
I would
with you
say
on that.
so.
Because
Daryl
18
Revis
Aaron
is not
Donald forced a lot of fumbles. 09
on your
Patrick
defensive
Wilson
line,
played.
maybe. But this is what I'm saying. All over my squad, I have a turnover machine.
That is true.
All over my squad. So I'll say this: I think if I go year by year, yours is lineup wise, like on paper, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the better squad. If we're just going years,
Yeah.
but if I'm saying which team is gonna win, I'm gonna take my team.
I don't know. I would.
Especially with the coordinators that I've built around it and my staff that I've built around it specifically. Now I'll say this: it's gonna be. I'll say the score even. It's gonna be 27-24. We'll take the win at the last minute field goal. It'll be that close. It will
Well,
be
let me
that
ask you this:
close.
if that's the case, do you want to do the kicker just for the sake of it?
I mean, I'll have first. I guess I'll have first pick in that.
Yeah. So
Right?
then you take Adam Vinatieri.
Yeah, and
If you
I'll
take
win the
Adam,
game
if you
guaranteed.
take Adam Vinatieri, yeah, you won. That's
Yeah,
the thing.
I mean, regardless of what kicker I take, I probably Adam Vinatieri is probably my guy to win, right?
Yeah.
But I think
I take a certain player as my antithesis to Adam Vinatieri, but player that I don't think we should probably talk about given his former allegations that have come out in the past year. I think you know
oh
who I'm
god,
talking about.
yeah.
But yeah. Um I don't know. It's an interesting matchup for sure. I'm really interested in seeing how the lineback are both our running backs match up against both our linebackers, especially.
Yeah,
To me, that I think is the X factor of the game. I think for you the
I
X
think
factor.
I win. I think I'll say this: the way you win is if you can allow Cooper Cup to dominate. Is the
I
way
agree. Yeah,
offensively you'll win.
I agree.
The way defensively you'll win. I really don't think you can win much defensively. I really don't think so because
Pressure.
you're
To me,
you
the best way I can
yeah,
win on defense is pressure.
it's your best luck. It's your best luck is pressure maybe, but my receivers are just they're even if you put Revis, Mel Blunt is the biggest way I can expose you.
True.
The fact that you don't have a free safety is another way I expose you.
Here's
And
my
then
question to that though. You got Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback.
right,
And specifically 18 Mahomes. And granted, 18 Mahomes is a lot different from 2024 Patrick Mahomes. But the one thing that had given Mahomes trouble throughout most games that he struggles with, regardless of when it was in his career, was always a pass rush that basically got put in his face and got to him. Not just pressured him because he could get out of pressures as we saw in the 2022 Super Bowl, but when they actually bring him down. So to me, the reason why I really emphasize that pressure point is because I got pure sacks on my defensive line,
you
right?
know who you should have gone with if you're really trying to address pressure. There's one guy who I was thinking of to go with, but the last minute I decided to go another direction. You know who I really thought you should have gone with?
Who?
Derek Thomas.
Derek
That's
Thomas.
the
I
guy.
did consider him.
That's the guy who would have destroyed
The reason I
1990.
didn't
Derek Thomas would have destroyed
the
Patrick
reason
Mahomes.
I didn't consider him is because he wasn't 99 Derek Thomas. That wasn't his best year as far as a run defender
90,
and I
90.
90. Okay. Yeah, I'd also consider 90 Derek Thomas, but I did also feel like there were better players who gave me run defender options, and I don't think Derek Thomas was necessarily the best as far as a speed position.
Yeah,
I consider him as my last pick for sure. The big thing for me is I'm looking at the 24 Super Bowl between the Chiefs and the Eagles, and for me, the big weakness on that Eagles defense was their second cornerback position outside of Quinyon Mitchell. I'm not talking about the nickelback position because that's
yeah.
Cooper DeJean, right? And Mahomes just could not throw there, right? Obviously, he has better receivers in this case with Jerry Moss and Randy
Exactly,
Moss,
exactly.
but at the very least, I mean, the
And
one
see,
place
the other thing I'll say about this is the fact that Sean McVay is the offense coordinator. And with Sean McVay, especially in 25, we found out a very easy thing. Death by a million paper cuts. That's what he's gonna allow Mahomes to establish, especially with Andy Reid. He's not gonna demand deep when you least expect it, he'll demand these deep 60 yard bombs. But
But you know what? One thing about 25 McVay that kind of got exposed in the NFC Championship,
mm,
he blundered a lot, especially in the red zone on a lot of different play calls.
that's fair.
To me, if I
But
have
at the
someone
same
like
time,
13 Dan Quinn, that helps.
at this yes, but at the same time, run wise, it's gonna allow Mahomes to catch a breath. And the thing about the other thing is this Mahomes' ability to run.
Yeah,
That's the other thing that I don't think we've talked about enough in this episode. That's the X factor. Okay,
yeah,
you mentioned what you're like. I'll mention. So Cooper Cup is my biggest thing on your defense. Your defensive line is probably going to be my number one aspect, just considering that my offensive line is not as good.
yeah,
Like being frank, but I personally believe that first of all, Mahomes' biggest nemesis was Belichick as a defensive coordinator, and
yeah.
I have him as my defensive coordinator. I just feel as a team I win, but year by year basis, if you're gonna give me a list of names, you win.
Yeah.
But I think if we're going 1v1, I get 27-24. I'll take the
One way or another, it's going to be a very interesting matchup. I
for sure.
think it's going to be fun to see how these two teams match up against each other. Let us know in the comments section who you
Yeah,
think has the better team. But that does about it for today's episode. We hope you guys had as much fun as we did recording this episode. Because I'll be honest, this was Akhilesh one of the more fun type of drafts that we have done,
yeah, for sure.
for sure. And we are going to put more of these types of videos in the summer. Um, but let us know what you guys think as far as another idea. Let us know what you guys think overall. Um, and please keep in touch with us as the summer goes on because there are
Yeah,
going to be a lot of fun ideas that we do going into the summer and going into next NFL season. Um, you know, I got a certain date on my calendar circled. It's September 10th, 2026, Australia game between the Rams and the 49ers. Gonna be hooked onto my TV. You know,
yeah.
that game, I mean,
That game will tell you whether you should watch or not watch the NFL.
no, I don't think that. I will still hate watch the Rams either way, but
Yeah,
um Akhilesh doesn't like to swear a lot. I'm the opposite when it comes to football. Uh so that game will, if I ever live stream that game or we both live stream that game, we'll see if
yeah,
that ever happens. If that ever happens, you guys will see the difference between Akhilesh and myself as football fans.
yeah.
But that
I'm
is
a
the
lot.
type of excitement that we bring to watching these games and the type of coverage that we want to give you guys this week. So we
Right.
hope you guys enjoy it as much as us. But until next time, see you guys later.
See you.
Peace.